Chapter 97. You kids nowadays only know how to play with your phones every day. What are you laughing about? His mother, Qi Feng, took the lead and walked to the unit where her sister, Qi Yan, lived. She nagged at Lu Cheng for being reluctant to put down his phone when he was in the car. Lu Cheng was carrying alcohol, cigarettes, chicken, fish and other gifts. He didn't dare to talk back and could only laugh dryly. Fortunately, there was a generation gap between him and his mother, so she didn't find out that he was in love with her. As for whether it was a one-sided romance, judging from Yenjika's performance and their interactions during this period, he vaguely felt that it was more than a friend. Whether they were lovers or not was another matter. He should not have any misconception that he was feeling good about himself and made a mistake, which could ruin the good situation. The revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Comrades still need to work hard. You don't understand. Nowadays, the younger generation communicates on the internet, unlike us in the past. Lu Jisheng was also carrying a lot of gifts. Why don't I understand? If I didn't understand, would I only nag? I saw on TV that some parents are so heartless and irresponsible that they send their children to some internet addiction treatment center. Qi Feng rambled on. In the blink of an eye, they came to the third floor and pressed the doorbell. Lu Qing had a very good impression of his aunt's house and the small supermarket that they had developed from a grocery store. He loved to play here when he was a child. Every time he looked pitifully at some snacks, his aunt, Qi Yan, who had a sharp tongue but a soft heart, would give some to him. Because of their poor family background, he rarely had snacks. The door opened and Qi Yan, in a white down jacket, took the gifts from Qi Feng with a smile. She glanced at Lu Cheng and teased him. Cheng, your mom is willing to let you do heavy work. Qi Yan and Qi Feng looked very similar, but there were almost no crow's feet. She looked like she was in her early 30s instead of her late 40s. She was very good at taking care of herself. I'm not a kid anymore. Of course I have to help carry things. Qi Feng changed her shoes and walked into the house. When they were in middle school and high school, she didn't want Lu Cheng to study hard and rarely let him do housework. Even when she visited relatives and friends, she would carry the lightest things. Lu Cheng raised the items in his hand and flexed his muscles. He said with a smile, I'm strong now. This is a piece of cake. While talking and laughing, the family of three entered the house. They saw Lu Cheng's grandparents and uncle, Chen Wengua. Grandpa, grandma, uncle. Lu Cheng greeted them one by one, feeling a little regretful that he couldn't spend the new year at his grandfather's house. Although her uncle was considered a live-in son-in-law, her grandparents were only in their 60s. Their bodies were strong, and their spirits were high. They still lived in their hometown in the countryside, tending to a few acres of land and raising a few chickens. They were reluctant to leave the familiar environment and the relatives and neighbors that they had lived with for many years. There was a small river at the entrance. The deepest part of the river was only a little above the ankle. If you were lucky, you could really catch small fish. Further up, there was a reservoir where you could fish. Along the mountain road, there was land contracted by his relatives. There were all kinds of fruit trees planted there. In the ditch beside, tadpoles were looking for their mothers. Every year during the holidays, Lu Cheng would go there to play, like a wild horse. Lu Cheng's grandpa's face was ruddy. He said with vigor, Why didn't you come here for a few days before the new year? Come and sit down. There are sunflower seeds, peanuts and soft candy. Choose what you like. Lu Cheng wanted to say that he didn't like peanuts, soft candy or sunflower seeds, but when he saw the eager and enthusiastic eyes of his grandparents, he swallowed the words back down and ate a soft candy. Maybe because he was the first child of his generation, his grandparents doted on him very much. As for her grandfather, other than not having studied much, he was an all-rounder. The furniture here, the furniture in the old house in the countryside, were all made by him. Furthermore, he was a good cook. He could farm, raise chickens, fish, and catch birds. He was her idol when she was young. The family sat down and talked about Lu Cheng's college life for a long time. After a while, they moved on to other topics to let Lu Cheng have some time. How are Feifei and Xiaoxiao? He asked his two cousins. The two girls were still in junior high school. One was in her third year, and the other was in her first year. The older one was called Qi Yunfei, and the younger one was called Chen Xiaoxiao. Aunt Qi Yin said angrily, I don't know where they went so early in the morning. Wait until noon. If they don't come back for lunch, I'll break their legs. Lu Qing changed the topic. Aunt, where can I buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery? Don't we have them in our supermarket? Uncle Chun Wenghua interrupted in confusion. He and Lu Cheng's grandpa lived in the same village. He liked Qi Yin since he was a child. Because he had an elder brother, he moved his in-laws by being a live-in son-in-law. He was diligent and worked hard in the county with Qi Yin for many years. He worked in the grocery store, and from the grocery store to the small supermarket. He bought a house and paid off the loan. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Uncle, I know what the original proof wine and Maojian green tea in your supermarket are. No one will believe you just because of the price. Chun Wenghua laughed. Don't look down on them. The original proof wine in our supermarket is also from Ningshui Brewery. Together with the sorghum from the farmers nearby, it tastes very good. Why are you asking about these two? They are not sold very often. The ones in the market are either fake or shoddy. You can't get the real one without some connections. Qi Yan asked in confusion. Lu Jisheng and Qi Fong also looked at their son in surprise. They didn't understand why he asked this. Lu Cheng said half-truthfully, I have a friend who is going to pay a New Year's visit to his elder brother. His elder brother is from Ningshui and only likes the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery. He heard that I'm going back to Ningshui, so he asked me to ask if I can buy it. If he directly mentioned Director Xing, wouldn't he be exposing his own shortcomings and frightening his parents? If he doesn't have any connections, we can only rely on luck. And now it's the new year. Alas! Qi Yin was in a dilemma. At this time, Lu Cheng's grandpa Qi Jiayu said, Yen, isn't Ding Laosan well-connected and popular? He always praises himself for his connections. Why don't you ask him for Cheng? Bah, that Ding Laosan is so arrogant. Every time he sees him, he looks like he wants to beat him up. And he speaks in a sarcastic tone. Why would I go to him for no reason? Qi Yin said grumpily. Lu Qing also smiled and said, Don't bother. Anyway, it's just a friend who asked me to ask. It doesn't matter if I can't buy it. Would it kill you to ask him for Cheng? Lu Cheng's grandmother Kong Meijin gently pinched Qi Yin. Okay, I'll ask. Cheng, come with me. It's on the second floor. Qi Yin curled her lips and said, Auntie is a classic example of a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Lu Qing secretly laughed and stood up, following behind her. After a few steps, the two quickly went down the stairs and arrived at the door of Deng Laosan's house. Qi Yin pressed the doorbell and said angrily, Cheng, bear with it later. Deng Laosan's words are not pleasant to hear. Just treat it as a mad dog barking at you. Okay. After what happened yesterday, Lu Qing felt that most of his rashness and impulsiveness had been worn away. After a short while, the dark red door opened. A man with thinning hair said, Qi Yin, you don't come here for no reason. What can I do for you? He combed one side of his hair to the other side, to cover the blankness in the middle. With several pimples on his face, he seemed to be quite angry. Deng Laosan, didn't you say that you have a wide network? Can you get the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Brewery? Qi Yin asked directly. Deng Laosan looked her and Lu Qing up and down and laughed. You also want to buy these two things. Is it necessary? Do your friends and relatives need to give you these two things? Why do you have to pretend to be rich? It's a waste of money and connections. I'm just asking if you can buy them. Do you have connections? Qi Yin took a deep breath and said. Lu Qing felt that his aunt was about to explode. He pulled her and said with a smile, We're asking for someone else. Deng the Third didn't let them in. He just stood at the door and said, Then I'll tell you the truth. I can get them, but I can't get them for you. These two things don't look expensive, but they are priceless. It depends on connections. Do you understand? Connections? With my connections, I can only get a limited amount of them. I don't even think it's enough for me to do favors. What kind of relationship do you have with me? How much money can you give me? Why should I give you a bargain? Fine. Qi Yin was furious. Why do you have to say such harsh words? If Lu Qing didn't stop her, she might have quarreled with him. Lu Qing didn't want to buy them from Deng Laosan at a high price, which went against the purpose of the small gift. When they got home, Qi Yan complained in front of her mother, saying that Deng Laosan had ulcers on his head and pus on his feet. Auntie has no connections. I don't know many people in Ningxue. Who can I ask for help? Can I just buy ordinary Ningxue daku and green tea? Lu Qing murmured in his heart while listening to them. If Wang Su was still here, it wouldn't be difficult to get the original proof wine. Except for Yan Zhika, who was in Jiangnan, Tao Xiaofei, Qin Rui, and Dai Linfeng were the only ones who could get it. Lu Qing was still a student, so his social circle was dominated by his classmates. He went to the balcony, opened his contact list, and called Tao Xiaofei. After a long ring, Tao Xiaofei said with a heavy nasal voice and sleepy voice, "Brother Lu, what's the matter? You're still in bed." Lu Qing greeted him first. Tao Xiaofei smiled bitterly. "I went to bed at 6. You're so young. You're not afraid of your health." Lu Qing joked and changed the topic. "Do you know where I can buy the original proof wine and Maojian green tea from Ningxue Brewery?" Tao Xiaofei felt strange. "Brother Lu, why do you ask this? I've troubled Director Xing with the previous matter. I've made an appointment to visit him and want to get something he likes." Lu Qing said honestly. Tao Xiaofei laughed. "Brother Lu, you've asked the right person. Wait, I'll bring it to you directly. Are 2 bottles and 2 boxes enough?" Yes. I'll give you the money." Lu Qing said happily. "We're so close that we don't need to talk about money. To tell you the truth, my dad is also into this kind of stuff. I'm going to smuggle some to you. Anyway, he's not bad. I can get it later." Tao Xiaofei grinned. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Aren't you afraid that Uncle Tao will beat you?" "No, he's thick-skinned. And he wants to beat me every day." Tao Xiaofei said this like a normal teenager instead of a gangster who spent a lot of time in bars. "By the way, Brother Lu, where are you? I'll bring it to you directly." "No, I'm in Ningxue. You can give it to me before the 7th. Lu Qing smiled. Tao Xiaofei said, "Then I'll bring it to you. It'll only take a few minutes. My mom is going to spend the winter in South Sea. I'm not sure when I'll leave Xioshan." After telling him the address, Lu Qing went back to the living room and chatted with his grandparents and aunts. About 40 minutes later, his phone rang. Tao Xiaofei had arrived. While talking on the phone, Lu Qing walked out of the building and saw the BMW 7 Series at the gate of the community. "Brother Lu." Tao Xiaofei got out of the car and gave him a bag with 2 bottles of original proof wine and 2 boxes of Maojian green tea. The original proof wine was simply packaged like the one produced in the small workshop next door. Although it's ugly, the simpler the packaging, the better it is, Tao Xiaofei said with a smile. Lu Qing looked at it and held it in his hand. He said sincerely, "Sorry to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all," Tao Xiaofei said straightforwardly. "We're old classmates." At this point he smacked his lips. "I'm not asking you to help me fight. After seeing that scene yesterday, I was really shocked. I don't like to dance and seek excitement like I used to. I've become a king good guy in the bar. Last night, someone stole the girl I had my eyes on, but I didn't say anything. Anyway, it's not my wife or girlfriend. Do you think there's a shortage of girls in the bar? Why do you have to be angry and fight for this?" Lu Qing looked at him in surprise. "It's good that you have this awareness. You have money and connections. If you lose yourself because of a girl in the bar, you'll be wronged. Who can you reason with then?" Tao Xiaofei nodded solemnly. "Living is the most important thing. You can only enjoy life when you're alive. Haha, you look like an old man." Lu Qing joked. Tao Xiaofei returned to normal and said with a smile, "Brother Lu, I'm not asking you for anything. With your current strength and age, you may become a famous master on TV in the future. At that time, don't pretend you don't know me. I can brag to my friends. Look, Hero Lu and I had barbecue together last night. We've been friends since childhood." "No problem. Haha, you're so nice." Lu Qing agreed with a smile. Watching Tao Xiaofei drive away, he told Yan Zheka about it with a smile. Then he carried the things and went back to his aunt's house. When he was about to reach the door, he heard Ding the Third's voice from inside. Yes or no? Tell me. You're lucky. I have a friend who hasn't sent out a gift yet. I want to convert it into money. A bottle of original proof wine is 800 yuan. A box of Maojian green tea is 1,200 yuan, so the total is 2,000 yuan. Do you want it or not? Just tell me. I'm telling you, it's more expensive than normal, but I promise it's real. You won't get it again if you miss it. What's your family's connection? You can't get it in your life without luck. Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. He pushed open the half-closed door and said, No need. I've got it. Got it. Qi Fong, Qi Yan, and the others all looked at him in surprise. Qing just answered a phone call and went out for 10 minutes. How could he get it? You got it. Is it fake? Ding the Third's face darkened. He walked to Lu Qing and took the bag recklessly. He rummaged through it carefully and then fell into silence. After a while he asked in confusion, How much did you pay for it? It's real, but don't waste your money. Lu Qing smiled and said, I didn't. Someone gave it to me. Chapter 98. A gift. Ding the Third opened his mouth and raised his voice a lot. Before Lu Qing could answer, his face reddened like the cloth worn by the bullfighters on TV. It was as if blood was about to drip out of his face. He murmured as if he wanted to ask for clarification, but couldn't. Finally he laughed and said, It's good that you have it. As he spoke, he put down the bag and quickly rushed to the door. He didn't pay attention and tripped over the threshold. He stumbled a few steps and almost fell into the opposite door. Then, without looking back, he hurriedly went downstairs. The living room of Qi Yan's house was quiet. After a few seconds, Lu Cheng's mother asked in confusion, Cheng, who gave it to you? What kind of social connections could a kid who had just entered college have? How could he find a way to get the original proof spirit and Maojian green tea from Ningshui Daku for free? As a mother, she felt that she had to figure it out, in case her son was cheated by others. Lu Qing explained with a smile. Mom, do you remember Tao Xiaofei? I sat in front of him for a long time in high school. You should have seen his mom or dad at the parent-teacher conference, right? Xiushan No. 1 Middle School's tradition was to arrange the parents according to the student's original position during the parent-teacher conference. Yes, his mom always praised you for being good at studying and steady. She wanted to use you as a role model for Tao Xiaofei. Qi Fong immediately recalled. His mom was really dressed like a jewel. Lu Jisheng couldn't help but laugh. Oh, you learned to use idioms? Jewel is really good. Qi Fong stared at him. I don't dare to compare myself with a great intellectual. But since an illiterate, like me, can learn to use idioms, shouldn't you, a great intellectual, learn to cook? I'll leave it to you in the future. Lu Jisheng laughed and didn't answer. He looked at Lu Cheng and asked, Tao Xiaofei gave it to you? Yes, I asked him with the intention of giving it a try. He said he had a lot of them at home, so he gave me some. Lu Cheng turned back and closed the door. You guys are quite close. He even gave it to you from afar. Qi Yan interrupted. Chen Wenghua said thoughtfully, the Tao family's background isn't bad. Not bad. Lu Qing didn't know whether he was answering his aunt or his uncle. Suddenly, Qi Yan clapped her hands together and clapped. She said excitedly, Cheng, it's only been a while since we last met. You've grown so much. Haha, this is the first time I've seen third brother Deng so embarrassed. Io, what do you mean by our family's connections? If you don't rely on luck, you won't be able to get it in this lifetime? Then I gave him 2 bottles and 2 boxes, and they were all free gifts. She seemed to have vented the resentment in her chest. Qi Fong chimed in. I wanted to beat that Deng the Third just now. Her eyebrows and eyes were full of joy. She was immersed in the gratification of her son's ability. The problem that the adults couldn't solve was solved with just a phone call. Since your classmate said he would give it to you, we can't just take it for free, Lu Jisheng said after pondering for a while. Lu Qing said with a smile, Dad, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Qi Jiayu was about to praise him when he suddenly heard the sound of the key turning. He saw the door open and 2 little girls bouncing in. He laughed and said, Fei Fei Xiao Xiao, if you come back a little later, your mom will break your legs. My mom? She's just joking. Qi Yunfei wrinkled her nose and said disdainfully. Qi Yan's face darkened. I'm just joking? You haven't been beaten for a long time. Are you itching for a beating? Mom, I won't do it again. Qi Yunfei suddenly became a lackey. Her attitude changed so fast that Lu Qing was amazed. His two cousins had been lively and mischievous since they were young. The effect of the devil incarnate plus the devil incarnate was definitely more than 1 + 1. Moreover, they could be considered as the most beautiful among his siblings. Although they were not very beautiful, in the words of the Ningxue dialect, they were little good, little good. They looked cute and comfortable. Brother Lu Qing, when did you arrive? While her sister was flattering her mother, Qin Xiaoxiao looked at Lu Qing with a smile. She looked very similar to her sister, Qi Yunfei, especially when both of them had air bangs. However, the baby fat on her face was still there, and her eyes were a little bigger. She was less beautiful, but more cute. We arrived a long time ago, Lu Qing said in an exaggerated and heavy tone. After exchanging a few pleasantries, the two girls went back to their rooms to tidy up and prepare for lunch. Lu Qing followed them into Qi Yunfei's boudoir and closed the door with his heel. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and said with a smirk, Tell me the truth. You ran out early in the morning on the second day of the new year. There must be something wrong. Chen Xiaoxiao pretended to shiver. Brother Lu Qing, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just a cover. Sister Fei Fei went on a date. Wow, you're in love at such a young age. Lu Qing looked at Qi Yunfei in surprise and laughed. Qi Yunfei first glanced at Chen Xiaoxiao. Traitor. Then she looked at Lu Qing and made a face. I'm 15 years old and in my 3rd year of middle school. What kind of love is this? It's useless to tell me. You have to tell your mother. Lu Qing raised his eyebrows. Qi Yunfei's face turned pale. Brother Lu Qing, you're not going to betray me, are you? It depends on your performance. If you don't get into Xiushan No. 1 middle school or Ningxue No. 2 middle school, you know. Lu Qing put on a look of indifference. Seeing his exaggerated performance, Qi Yunfei was relieved. Don't just talk about me. Brother Lu Qing, did you have a girlfriend in college? Almost. Lu Qing stretched out his right hand and pinched the top joint of his little finger with his thumb. Oh. The two girls were full of gossip. That is to say, you're going to fall in love? What kind of girl is she? I'll tell you when I get her. Lu Qing didn't want to give himself bad news. Because of his two lively and likable cousins, this day was full of laughter. After dinner, Qi Jiayu and Qi Yin tried to persuade Lu Qing and his family to stay for one night and go back the next day. Chen Xiaoxiao gave up her room and slept with her sister. Lu Cheng's parents lived with her, and Lu Qing became the head of the department, guarding the living room. Because Qi Fong mentioned that Lu Qing had to get up early to exercise, he went to bed at 10:30 every day. After 10 o'clock, the others didn't watch TV and went back to their rooms. Late at night, Lu Qing logged out of QQ and went to sleep. When he was sleeping soundly, he suddenly felt the vibration of his phone and woke up from the dreamless world. It was Yenjika. The time was exactly midnight. Why did she suddenly call me? Lu Qing was surprised, confused, worried and nervous. He quickly picked up the phone and chose to answer. Hello, Cheng? Yenjika's familiar voice came with a smile. Yes, it's me. Lu Qing was still a little confused. Yenjika chuckled. Cheng, happy birthday. Happy birthday? Lu Qing just woke up and remembered that it was his birthday after midnight. It was February 2nd on the Gregorian calendar. Haha, if you didn't give me this number, I would have forgotten it myself. Lu Qing was overjoyed and beamed. His voice unconsciously became louder and reverberated in the quiet living room. Yenjika waited until midnight just to say happy birthday to me. I'm so happy. She was adjusting her biological clock to get used to waking up early to exercise. Without me, no one will celebrate your birthday for you? Yenjika asked with a smile. Lu Qing was afraid that he would wake others up, so he put on his clothes with difficulty while holding his phone. He groped for the balcony. I haven't officially celebrated my birthday since elementary school, but my parents will remember to cook me a bowl of longevity noodles. His family was poor in middle school, so he didn't have the money to buy a birthday cake. He was used to it in high school and felt that it was childish to ask for a birthday celebration. As soon as he opened the balcony door, Lu Qing saw a shadow squatting in the corner. He immediately shouted in a low voice, "Who is it?" The shadow was scared and jumped up. She turned around and saw Lu Qing. She patted her chest and said, "Brother Lu Qing, you scared me to death." The shadow was Qi Yunfei, his cousin in the 3rd year of middle school. She was wearing pajamas with rabbit ears and a small quilted jacket. She was trembling while holding her phone. "You scared me too. I thought there was a thief." Lu Qing didn't cover the receiver and said directly. Qi Yunfei exhaled and said, "Is there a thief as cute as me? My boyfriend called and I was afraid to wake Xiao Xiao up, so I came out to the balcony to talk." She looked at Lu Qing and moved her eyebrows. She snickered. "It seems that you are also a thief." "Yeah." Lu Qing found it funny. What a coincidence. After that, they tacitly turned their backs and each occupied a corner of the balcony to talk on the phone. "What happened just now?" Yenjika asked curiously. Lu Qing said with a smile, "I was at my aunt's house. I was afraid to wake the people in the room, so I ran out to the balcony to talk on the phone. I bumped into my cousin." "Puff, what was she doing on the balcony in the middle of the night?" Yenjika laughed. Lu Qing said with a smile, "Puppy love. She was talking on the phone with her boyfriend." After that, he turned around and saw Qi Yunfei turn her head and stare at him. It seemed that she was saying, "You are such a big mouth. You forget your sister when you see a girl. You are not loyal." Lu Qing didn't care and pretended not to see. After chatting with Yenjika for a few minutes, he was afraid that he would delay her getting up early tomorrow. So he said, "Can I ask for a birthday present?" "You can ask. It's up to me whether I approve or not." Yenjika answered with a smile. Lu Qing seemed to be able to imagine her smile. Quietly turning on the recording function, Lu Qing said excitedly, "Sing a birthday song for me." "Humph, for the sake of your birthday." Yenjika said proudly and gently hummed the song. "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Well, what do you wish for? Hurry up and make a wish." Lu Qing's heart was full of joy. After thinking for a while, he hinted, "As the old saying goes, I only wish that there will be a day every year." "You will be every year. You will be every year." "That's a good wish." Yenjika's voice had a trace of a smile. Then she said quickly, "I'm going to bed. You should hurry up and get up early tomorrow. Good night." "Good night." Seeing that her attitude was not cold, Lu Qing felt good about himself again. After hanging up the phone, he was so happy that he wanted to scream. But with his cousin Qi Yunfei behind him, he couldn't forget himself and lose his dignity as a brother. Forcing himself to hold back, he went back to the living room and waved his arms quietly. The beginning of 19 years was so beautiful. After doing all this, he guiltily turned his head to look at the balcony. He saw Qi Yunfei was also secretly looking at him with one hand tightly covering her cheek. She also forgot herself. They looked at each other and smiled. With tacit understanding, they each made a gesture of encouragement to the other. In the next few days, Lu Qing fully enjoyed his holiday life. After getting up early to practice, he didn't have to be busy with classes and computer rooms. He didn't have to split his time in half. Besides having fun with his family and relatives, he also chatted with Yenjika, called her, and video called her. In his spare time, he read novels, surfed the internet, mingled in different groups, watched his own private forum, or found Jiang Fei and Cheng Qili to play games and guide them to strengthen their bodies. His life was so comfortable that his body and mind were relaxed. The fight on the morning of the first day of the new year seemed to have happened several years ago. It no longer bothered him in his dreams. Time flew. Soon it was the 7th day of the new year. It was time to visit Director Xing. Chapter 99. Before he left, Lu Qing called Director Xing again to confirm. This was a question of courtesy. Even though Director Xing had said that he could come at any time on the 7th day of the new year, he couldn't just walk in like that. What if Director Xing hadn't woken up yet? What if Director Xing was entertaining an important guest? Lu, When are you coming? Director Xing's hearty voice came into Lu Cheng's ears as soon as the call connected. Lu Cheng smiled and said, I'm just about to leave. I was worried that you might have other guests, so I called to ask. Haha, I do have other guests, but they'll leave soon. Feel free to come over. I'll let the guard know. Director Xing replied in a relaxed tone. Okay. Lu Cheng hung up the phone and booked a cab. Carrying the bag of wine and tea, he went downstairs unhurriedly. He was in a strange mood. This was the first time he paid a New Year's greeting as an individual. It was as if he had stepped into society in advance and become an adult. In less than 20 minutes, he arrived at Mingshan Community on South Shuiyuan Street. After giving his name, he easily passed through the security and arrived at Unit 2, Block 3, where Director Xing lived. There was a one-staircase design here. Lu Cheng didn't need to identify when he got out of the elevator. He went straight to the copper-clad door and rang the doorbell. Ding-dong sounds echoed, and the door was quickly opened. A young man walked out with half of his body and said with a smile, Director Xing, please wait. There are other guests. Xing Chenggu laughed heartily and said, Be careful on your way back. Do your job well when you get back. You need to make new progress in the new year. After that, he turned to Lu Cheng and said, Come in. Make yourself at home. The young man looked at Lu Cheng curiously, but didn't say anything. He turned and walked to the elevator. After entering the house and changing his shoes, Lu Cheng noticed that Director Xing was quite a burly man. Even in casual home clothes, he couldn't hide his strong and capable temperament. Damn, I was so shocked that I didn't pay much attention to what kind of person Director Xing was. If I met him on the street, I probably wouldn't recognize him. Lu Cheng wiped away the non-existent cold sweat and handed over the bag in his hand. Uncle Xing, Happy New Year. Good luck. You're just a junior. Why are you bringing gifts? I'm still wondering if I should give you your lucky money. Xing Chenggu joked and accepted the gift without hesitation. He opened it and frowned slightly. Ningshui Winery's original proof spirit and Maojian green tea? You're just a kid. Why do you have to be so grand? You must have spent a lot of money, right? I didn't spend any money. I happen to have money at home, so I thought I'd offer it to you. Lu Cheng put away the unfamiliarity he felt when he just walked in, and answered with a smile. Xing Chengwu's brows smoothed out as he laughed. Since you didn't spend any money, I'll accept it. Not bad, you're offering Buddha with borrowed flowers. This is exactly what I want. I don't have many hobbies in my life, but I like these too. This is because an expert gave me pointers. Lu Cheng made a joke. Xing Chengwu put the bag on the coffee table and gestured for Lu Cheng to sit down. He asked in confusion, Master? Lu Cheng smiled and said, Yanzheka and I were classmates. She told me that you like to drink a cup of tea during the day and a bottle of wine at night. Xing Chengwu was pleasantly surprised. You and Yunko are classmates? Why didn't you tell me earlier? You didn't have to find me through your master. Haha, it seems that we're fated to meet. Then I won't stand on ceremony and treat you as my nephew. Didn't I call you Uncle Xing long ago? Lu Cheng said humorously. Yanzheka told me that you're good at gold and jade body and modern Xingyi. He planned to leave after a few words. Otherwise he would feel uncomfortable. After all, he wasn't very familiar with Director Xing. If he shamelessly stayed, it would only make them speechless. Yeah, Xing Chenggu said proudly. If it weren't for my gold and jade body, how could I sit and talk to you like this? I would either be paralyzed or honorably sacrificed. These words tickled his itch, and he started talking nonstop. I cultivated step by step in a proper martial arts school, and finally entered the police academy. As far as our work is concerned, this kind of physical hard body skill is the most suitable. Unlike you guys who have referees and supervisors watching over you when you fight in the arena. If we really encounter criminals with guns or criminals with real kung fu, we can only fight with our lives on the line. Although the golden jade body can't protect us from gunshots, it can at least turn a serious injury into a minor one while avoiding the vital parts. This kind of kung fu has saved countless police officers. Lu Cheng was inexperienced. It was the first time he heard about this kind of thing. He listened with great interest and echoed from time to time. It seems that Director Xing doesn't belong to the big forces. He's a martial artist trained by the country. He thought thoughtfully. While Director Xing was talking, the bedroom door creaked open. A tall, middle-aged woman with her hair tied up in a bun came out. She had delicate features and slender legs. She said coquettishly, "Dad, I'm going shopping with Mom. As long as you're at home, we won't have a peaceful new year. Several groups of people will come in an hour." Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly noticed a strange man. Her expression immediately sank and became as cold as ice, keeping people thousands of miles away. Lu Qing was too embarrassed to sit. He stood up with Director Xing and listened to Director Xing's introduction. "Jingjing, this is Young Ke's classmate, the young master I mentioned last time, Lu Qing. Lu Qing, this is my daughter, Xing Jingjing. She's 2 years older than Young Ke, but only 1 year older than you. She's studying at Huahai University. She and Young Ke are best friends," Director Xing said with a smile. "This is my wife. You can call her Auntie Ding." "Hello, Auntie Ding." "Hello, senior sister." Lu Qing didn't know how to address Xing Jingjing, so he just called her senior sister. Because of Yanjika's warning in advance, he was a little afraid of Xing Jingjing and always worried that he would say something wrong to offend her. "I heard old Xing mention you. You're a young talent with extraordinary skills," Auntie Ding said with a smile. "You're Young Ke's classmate. Are you still studying? Where are you studying at?" "Songqing University. I'm Yanjika's classmate." Lu Qing didn't hide it. Xing Jingjing could ask Yanjika about this kind of thing. Auntie Ding wanted to say something more, but Xing Jingjing pulled her aside. Her action was obvious and her attitude was impatient. She seemed to be very impatient to be in the same enclosed space with Lu Qing. "You and old Xing have a good chat. We're going shopping." Auntie Ding frowned slightly, and then said calmly. Lu Qing was surprised by Xing Jingjing's behavior. He didn't say much and just said a few words out of courtesy. He didn't say anything like hooligan or pervert. Why did Xing Jingjing dislike him as if he was a cockroach? She didn't even care about the most basic courtesy. Xing Jingjing and Lu Qing put on knee-high boots and went out. Xing Chenggu saw Lu Qing's confusion and couldn't help but sigh. He sat down again, opened the bottle of original proof wine, and poured 2 cents into a small teacup on the table. "Lu, Uncle Xing is suddenly addicted to alcohol. Do you mind if I drink a few sips?" He forced a smile. Lu Qing hurriedly replied, "It's okay. You can do whatever you want." Xing Chenggu drank half a cup in one gulp and closed his eyes as if he was savoring the mellow and spicy wine. After a long time he said, "Lu, do you know what 2 kinds of gangsters we're most afraid of?" "No," Lu Qing answered honestly. He didn't understand why Director Xing suddenly asked this. Xing Chenggu smiled bitterly and said, "Actually, we don't have to worry too much about underworld bosses like Zhang Mingle. They are local, and their relatives and friends are all here. They have roots and foundations, and they won't cross the line when doing things. They will have scruples. Unless they are really forced, they won't do anything. And there are also those who are ruthless and like to take risks. For example, Jian Lao III. But generally speaking, they're controllable. If I could contact Jian Lao III in advance on the first day of the new year, and ask him to inform the 9th pin of the dark sect to withdraw in time and leave Xiushan, there wouldn't be such a big case later." After listening to Director Xing's description, Lu Qing said thoughtfully, "Uncle Xing, you're afraid of criminals who cross the border and leave after 1 or 2 cases." Xing Chenggu nodded slightly and said, "Yes. These criminals are used to roaming around and have no scruples. They dare to commit big cases, and are not afraid of future troubles. Take that 9th pin of the dark sect for example. After all, as long as he doesn't get photographed and doesn't leave any obvious traces, once he escapes, it'll be very difficult to find him again. After all, we don't even know who he is, let alone whether he has other criminal records." Speaking of this, he took another sip of wine and looked a little absent-minded. "There's another kind. They're teenagers who have enough ability to cause trouble but lack family and school education. If they're still under the protection of the law, they're even more daring and dare to cause trouble even under the sky. And their crimes are more on the spur of the moment, Unlike vendetta or love killings, which are always foreshadowed, when they encounter this kind of people, even the gods can't guard against them. In order to train their courage, they dare to kill passers-by. After watching a film and wanting to find a girl, they dare to take advantage of the dark to kidnap her on the road. Seeing that Director Xing's expression was not right, Lu Qing suddenly remembered something from the past, something he had talked about with Yenjika. When he was in his second year of high school, there was an attempted rape case on the way home from school. There were various versions of it, scaring the girls. The male students organized a group and volunteered to send some of the female students who didn't live in school home. Xing Jingjing's extreme attitude towards hooligans and perverts. Director Xing's behavior. Could it be that she was the victim? Looking at Director Xing bitterly drinking wine, he suddenly felt some sympathy and pity. As a person who had a say in Xiushan, and as the deputy director of the police station to crack down on crime, when faced with accidents, there were also times when he felt powerless and painful and self-reproachful. He was also a human being. He could also be negligent. He also had pain and sorrow. Xing Chenggu didn't expect Lu Qing to have guessed the whole story. After calming down, he changed the topic and said with a smile, "Lu, practice martial arts well. You can only protect your family and friends at critical moments. My Jingjing used to hate the police and practicing martial arts because I was not at home for many years. Now she understands. She joined the martial arts club in Huahai University. Maybe you can meet in the National University Martial Arts Competition in the future. Uncle Xing, don't worry. I plan to make martial arts my future." Lu Qing answered sincerely. After chatting for a while, he left. Director Xing didn't ask him to stay. In the next few days, Lu Qing left this matter behind and continued his leisurely holiday life. In the blink of an eye, the day of school was approaching. Chapter 100. Thinking of the new martial arts mentioned by Geysershire, the upcoming preliminaries, and the fact that he would become one of the pillars of the martial arts club. More importantly, he thought of Yenjika, whom he had not seen for the whole winter vacation. It was the first time that Lu Qing was so eager to start school. A day without seeing each other felt like 3 years. How many days and nights had it been? Even the constant chatting, phone calls, and video calls couldn't compare to having a living girl by his side. He couldn't wait to buy a ticket and get on the train to Songcheng. But before that, he had to wait for a message and confirm a premise. "I'm in the dormitory. I'm going to pack now." Yenjika sent an emoji. "When did you get on the train? Didn't you book a ticket again?" Lu Qing was delighted and answered without hesitation. "Yes, tonight. I'll be there tomorrow morning." He knew that Yenjika was flying to Songcheng today, so he booked the train ticket for tonight. But in case the plane was delayed or cancelled, he was ready to change the ticket at any time. So he didn't tell Yenjika that he had booked a ticket. The action officially started. The action of bringing Xiushan delicacies to his beloved girl. While Yenjika was packing and cleaning the dormitory, he put in his wallet, grabbed his keys, and left the dormitory in a hurry. "Hey Cheng, are you having dinner at home tonight?" His mother, Qifeng, looked at his back and shouted. "Yes." Lu Qing answered from a distance. He didn't stop and walked to the entrance of the community. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had to hurry, or the braised quail eggs and steamed beef pies would be gone. A few minutes later, the online taxi arrived. He opened the door and threw himself in, throwing out a sentence, "Old Xinhua bookstore." More than 20 minutes later, Lu Qing finally arrived at the entrance of the old Xinhua bookstore. Seeing that the stall selling braised quail eggs was still there, he immediately felt relieved. He took a few big strides forward, glanced at it and blurted out, "I'll buy one." It wasn't that he didn't want to bring more, but he had to consider the capacity of the insulated lunchbox. Although it was a large one, there were other things, right? The reason why he had waited until the last moment was to ensure that the food would still be in its best condition when it was delivered to Yenjika. It tasted 70 to 80% normal. In order to confirm whether these stores would be open and when they would be sold out, he had checked the time twice and rehearsed the route. If Yenjika had arrived in Songcheng 2 hours later today, he would have changed the ticket to tomorrow night. The stall owner glanced at him and muttered, "Young man, only one serving?" That being said, his hands didn't slow down. He opened the small food bag and filled it to the brim. Luqing took the money and ran away, stopping a taxi that had been waiting for him. He shouted without panting, "Number 1 middle school's back door." This time he didn't run into a traffic jam. 10 minutes later he saw the familiar back school gate and snack street. He grabbed the change and walked quickly to the cart selling steamed beef pies. Luqing. Lu. Cheng's Lu. Then he carefully recalled Yan's that. And emphasized. Don't put green onions. Okay. The stall owner was a middle-aged man. He poured the top 4 boxes of steamed beef into a basin and skillfully added seasonings. Looking at his movements, Luqing felt like he was back in high school. During the 10-minute break between classes, the back door was closed. He waited for the students to take the money and waved to the stall owner through the iron bars, shouting how many servings he wanted. He only needed to put on the prison uniform to sing "Tears Behind Bars" loudly. The steamed beef pies in this shop were not only missed by the graduates of the number 1 middle school because of its geographical location, but also its taste was rare. He had tried the steamed beef pies in different famous stores in several places. Although he felt that the beef and the steamed beef were both delicious, the meat was always dead and not lively enough. He wasn't a gourmet. This was his own intuition. He couldn't use more accurate words to describe it. But the steamed beef pies in this shop were bouncy, fragrant, smooth, and tender. Every small piece seemed to have a life of its own. Chow Lele, who once said she didn't like steamed beef, broke her rule and praised it. According to what he heard, they made the steamed beef with deboned beef. They gave up the appearance of big pieces in exchange for the lively taste. The white pies used to hold the beef pies were made with the best ingredients and had a sweet aftertaste. They could whet people's appetite without anything else. While thinking, Luqing saw the stall owner grab a handful of green onions and shake them down. Green onions? He suddenly came back to himself and stared at the stall owner. Didn't you say you don't want green onions? The stall owner was embarrassed. Sorry. It was too smooth. You see, I haven't mixed it well. Just a little bit. I'll pick it out. Luqing was annoyed and amused at the same time. Forget it. Give me these 2 as well. I'll eat them myself. Also, give me 2 more that don't need onions. Remember, don't need onions. Okay. The stall owner was relieved and became more focused. He first gave the 2 with green onions to Luqing, and then mixed the steamed beef pies without green onions. Luqing stared at the stall owner like a tiger watching its prey, ready to attack if the stall owner put in green onions. He took a bite of the pies and felt the familiar bouncy, tender, and smooth texture in his mouth. It was so delicious that he wanted to cry. He wolfed down the 2 pies in a few bites, as if he hadn't eaten them for years. But in fact, he had only eaten 4 pies when he came for the exercise yesterday. After confirming that there were no green onions, he took out the money and handed it to the stall owner. He grabbed the food bag with the pies and turned to rush out of the snack street. He called for a taxi while walking. Next destination, Wang's Rice Noodles. 10 minutes later, he appeared at the door of Wang's Rice Noodles. He looked at the window of the restaurant and saw that the steamer was still there. He was completely relieved. He was only 1 step away from the perfect completion of the mission. Wang's Rice Noodles was originally an imitation of Crossing Bridge rice noodles. But after years of operation, they gradually integrated Xiaoshan characteristics. They boiled the soup base in a clay pot and served the noodles after cooking. The soup was their specialty, with a long aftertaste and both sweetness and freshness. And the glutinous rice cake was white and plump. It was tender, smooth, and sweet. Because it was wrapped in zongzi leaves and steamed, it had a little bit of serenity, too. Luqing said to the waiter with a smile. After buying the glutinous rice cake, it was only 4.10. According to the exercise, he went straight home by taxi. He sneaked into his room and took out the small vacuum machine and the corresponding bags. He put the steamed beef pies, braised quail eggs, and glutinous rice cakes into different bags, vacuumed them, sealed them, and stuffed them into different layers of the large thermal lunchbox he bought. While doing this, he was still chatting with Yenjika and didn't expose his actions. Seeing that it was still early at 6 o'clock, he came out and said to Qi Fang, "Mom, I'm taking the train tonight." Qi Fang, who was sitting on the sofa and watching TV, suddenly jumped up. "Why are you leaving so suddenly? When I asked you when you would go to school, you always said that it wasn't decided yet. Why are you leaving now?" "The martial arts club needs special training in advance." Lu Qing lied a little. Qi Fang frowned and said, "I said that I would make a big meal for you before you leave. But there are no dishes today. Hey, I'll go to the supermarket." After saying this, she rushed out of the door without waiting for Lu Qing's reply. Looking at his mom's back with guilt, Lu Qing waited for time to pass. At 5:45, he called his mom to get in the car and rushed out of the door again. When he arrived at Old Lu's barbecue in the Old City area, he had just opened the door and was setting up the barbecue rack. "Take away 2 eggplants, no scallions," Lu Qing emphasized. "Okay, sit down and wait for a while," Old Lu said with a smile. After waiting for a while, he saw that Old Lu was about to take the eggplants in and fry them. Lu Qing couldn't help but remind him again, "Don't put scallions." Old Lu laughed and said, "Why are you so long-winded? I remember." Okay. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh at himself. But when he saw Old Lu's back disappear at the kitchen door, he subconsciously shouted again, "Don't put scallions." A few minutes later, Old Lu came out with a biodegradable disposable lunchbox and said grumpily, "Here, your eggplants are gone. Put them. Scallions." Thank you. Lu Qing didn't care. He quickly paid the money and left the place with light steps. When he got home, while his mom was cooking in the kitchen, he put the eggplants together with the seasonings and oil into the corresponding bag, vacuumed it, sealed it, and put it in the bottom layer of the insulated lunchbox. After closing the lunchbox, he exhaled and his face was full of joy. Double protection. There should be no problem. Besides, he was taking the train tonight and would arrive at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. After one night, there might still be some heat left. At around 10 o'clock at night, carrying his luggage and the disguised insulated lunchbox, he said goodbye to his mom and dad and started his journey again. He took the black car to the train station. After waiting for an hour, Yinzhika had already fallen asleep. Finally, the train arrived and he found his seat. After stuffing his backpack into the luggage rack, he looked at the insulated lunchbox in his hand and felt that it wasn't safe to put it on. What if it shook off? If he put it on the small table, he wouldn't be in the innermost position. It would be inconvenient for others to come in and out, and it would disturb his sleep. After thinking carefully, he held the insulated lunchbox in his arms, adjusted the seat, closed his eyes and prepared to sleep. Yinzhika would be surprised to see this, wouldn't she? Would she be moved? Although the spring festival cost a lot, with the New Year's money given by relatives and my original savings, I still have more than 16,000 yuan. It's enough for a private date, sigh. After the preliminaries plus the schedule of classes, I have very little time to date every week. But I can be Yinzhika's training partner, hee. I wonder how far away I am from Lin K now, in his imagination, in his expectation, in his anxiety, and in his worry. Lu Qing held the large lunchbox tightly and slowly fell asleep. The last clear thought in his mind was, "Songqing, I'm here again." Chapter 101. At 5:30 in the morning, Lu Qing woke up naturally. Outside the window, the night sky was as dark as ink, dotted with stars. Subconsciously, he checked the thermal lunchbox to make sure there was nothing wrong with it. Then he went to the bathroom to relieve the pressure on his bladder, wash his face, and rinse his mouth. When he came back, he turned on his phone, logged into QQ, held the lunchbox tight, closed his eyes again, and meditated to practice condensation stance, seizing every minute and second. After more than 20 minutes, the beeping sound of a message came. Lu Qing took it out and saw Yinzhika's struggling emoji with a red ribbon on her head. The pretty one is already up. She's copying what I used to say. He couldn't help but laugh in a low voice. He quickly replied, "I'm the one who got up first." After a few words of greeting, Yinzhika went out for her morning exercise. He had been holding back the fact that he had brought delicious food in advance. How could he be happy without being surprised? At 6:13, The train arrived at Songqing North Station. Lu Qing carried his luggage and lunchbox and moved away along with the crowd. It was a little bright outside, and the damp and cold air hit his face. At this time, there were basically no online taxis available. Taxis would complain that Songqing University was too close to the old campus and wouldn't make much money, so they wouldn't take passengers. Lu Qing went to a nearby bus station, waited for a while, and then got on the first bus. It was empty, and there were no more than 5 people including him and the driver. He didn't find a seat, but stood on the spacious ground at the back door, with his feet apart, and meditated. He felt the start, stop, and bumpy of the bus, constantly adjusting his center of gravity and practicing yin-yang stance. Martial arts in daily life. After a few stops, Lu Qing arrived at the old campus of Songqing University. He went to the school bus station with familiarity, and waited for the first bus to go to the new campus. While waiting, he put his backpack and insulated lunchbox in a clean place, took off his down jacket, and put it on top. He wore a sweater and casual trousers. Like an old man or woman practicing Tai Chi, he slowly practiced every move, using the training routine to temper most of his body. He turned a blind eye to the curious and amused gazes of the few people around him who were waiting for the bus. Half a year could change a person. He no longer had any shyness about practicing martial arts, or lack of confidence in front of others. At 6:40 a.m., the first school bus opened on time and headed for the new district in the suburbs. Lu Qing played out the big and small hand wrap in his mind, competing with himself. The ripples of Weishui Lake reflected the surrounding trees and mountains, as well as the reflections of the brightly lit teaching buildings. This familiar scene made Lu Qing feel more at ease, more settled, and a sense of belonging grew within him. Early in the morning it was chilly. Facing the spring chill, he walked on the pedestrian street in groups of 3s and 4s. For many students of Songqing University, this was the last stage of recitation and preparation for self-study at 7:20 a.m. Dorm 302 Unit 2 Building 7. Lu Qing took out his keys and opened 2 doors. When he entered the small room, Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye were no longer there. Everything was neatly arranged. It was obvious that they had gone to the cafeteria for breakfast and started a day of self-study. In the small dormitory next door, the sound of snoring was faintly audible. Little Ming must have played online games with them for a long time last night. Lu Qing thought to himself. He put down his luggage and opened the thermal lunchbox. He found a pair of scissors and cut open the bags one by one, pouring them into different layers that could be taken out. It's really warm. Just a little heat in the microwave will do. Braised quail eggs can't be heated like this, but it's barely edible. He checked and rearranged the thermal lunchbox. Carrying it, he went out excitedly and nervously. He went to a cafeteria near the girls' dormitory and found the microwave for heating food. He occupied a seat next to it and waited patiently for Yan Zheka to finish her morning exercise. While waiting, his mind was full of thoughts and he couldn't calm down. His heart beat faster and faster. He was even more nervous than when he entered the ring for the first time. What should I say later? Just say that I brought the glutinous rice cake, and ask her to come here. It's the easiest kind of cake to bring but also the least sincere one. She should be surprised when she sees the rest. Should I take the opportunity to say something? Well, what should I say? If she subconsciously asks, "Do you still remember?" I should say, "I remember everything you told me." No, Little Ming said that before the girl makes the final decision, I can't give her too obvious hints. That will give her pressure and make her uncomfortable, resulting in the opposite effect. Then I should change my wording and tone and say, "Of course I remember everything you told me." It's a little suggestive but not too obvious. Well, I should also pay attention to my breathing. It can't be too fast or too nervous. It has to be calm and generous. Lu Cheng's thoughts were running fast. He designed different scenes and thought about different dialogues. He deliberated and practiced repeatedly, even taking the breathing rhythm into consideration. In the end, he couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and paced back and forth as if Yan Zheka was standing in front of him. He kept practicing, striving to perform perfectly and leave the girl with the best impression. At 8 o'clock, Yunjika finished her morning exercise and began to chat with him intermittently. After confirming that she had taken a shower with hot water, Luqing took a deep breath and sent a snickering emoji. I brought you a glutinous rice cake. Come and eat. Yunjika sent a surprised emoji covering its mouth. You really brought a glutinous rice cake? Hehe, not bad. You still remember me, Coach Yan. Good, I'm hungry. Where are you? The microwave in the cafeteria. Luqing held back his excitement and answered. He quickly put the roasted eggplant, steamed beef pancake, and glutinous rice cake into the cafeteria. After a short while, he placed them one by one on the table in the cafeteria. He stood behind the food and looked at the entrance. Thump, 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 thump. His heart beat like a drum and his blood rushed into his brain, making him tremble slightly. He recalled what he had practiced repeatedly just now. After a short while, a beautiful figure that he had been thinking about day and night appeared at the entrance. Yunjika was wearing a white sweater, a plain long-down jacket, dark jeans, and snow boots. She attracted the attention of passers-by. She stood there, looking around in confusion, looking for traces. Her head was slightly tilted, and her black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. She was so beautiful that Luqing was in a trance. He almost forgot the breathing that he had practiced. Finally, she confirmed the location of the microwave oven and saw Luqing. Her lips curled into a faint smile. She raised her right hand, signaled him, and quickly approached him. Luqing hurriedly took 2 steps forward and met her at the table. Yunjika opened her pink lips and was about to say something when she suddenly saw the 4 delicacies on the table. Old Lu's roasted eggplant, steamed beef pancake, Wang's glutinous rice cake, braised quail egg, and 3 steaming dishes in front of her. She pouted and opened her mouth, forming a cute O shape. She immediately raised her right hand and covered her mouth. She turned her head and looked in the opposite direction. She swayed her long hair, leaving only a side profile of her face to Luqing. Her nose was straight, her face was rosy, and her skin was soft and smooth. Her long eyelashes drooped down and covered her eyes. After a short silence, she turned her head and looked at Luqing up and down. There seemed to be thousands of bright stars hidden in her eyes. Luqing had always heard that the eyes were the window to the soul and could see other people's emotions. But at this time he could only read the surprise and joy in Yunjika's eyes. As for the rest, it was too complicated to say. Yunjika put down her right hand and lowered her head. She said with a smile, You really brought all of them here. Yes, I said I would repay Coach Yan's kindness. After all, you are my life mentor. Luqing just blurted out the answer and wanted to slap himself. What the hell was he talking about? It was completely different from the repeated practice just now. His mind was a little blank. He felt that his body was stiff and he couldn't perform well. Then he heard Yunjika's chuckle and saw her pursing her lips and smiling eyes. She seemed to be amused. Yunjika turned her head and looked to the side again. She said as if nothing had happened. You eat with me. I can't eat so much. It won't taste good when it gets cold. Okay. Luqing was delighted. He hated that the tables and chairs in the cafeteria were fixed together, so he couldn't pull out a chair for a girl. When he just sat down, he suddenly remembered something. He hurriedly stood up and said with annoyance, Chopsticks. Chopsticks. He forgot to pick up chopsticks. Now he was going to lose points again. He didn't dare to look at Yunjika and hurried to the window. He heard the girl's faint laughter behind him. Picking up the chopsticks, he mentally prepared himself and turned back. He saw Yunjika looking at him with a smile, without any disgust or disgust. Heaving a sigh of relief, a smile naturally appeared on his face. He quickly walked back and handed the chopsticks to the girl. Sitting opposite her, he watched as she elegantly picked up a piece of eggplant. Her neat white teeth were slightly exposed as she delicately ate it in small bites. Her black and long thin eyebrows relaxed, revealing a bit of satisfaction. There was a different kind of beauty. Luqing couldn't get enough of her. He kept peeking at her secretly and took every opportunity to look. Yunjika's delight in the food was like her affirmation of him, filling him with a strong sense of satisfaction. Suddenly, Yunjika raised her head and looked at him with her clear eyes. She caught his peeking eyes. Subconsciously, Luqing looked to the side and picked up the chopsticks. He casually picked up a pea and stuffed it into his mouth to hide it. Yenjika seemed to have eaten too much. Her cheeks were slightly red. She lowered her head again and said with a faint smile, Coach sure sent an email to all the members of the martial arts club, saying that this semester's martial arts class will start on time the day after tomorrow. As for the special training, it will start tomorrow if everyone is here. If not, it will be the day after tomorrow. Wait for the notice. Have you read it? Lu Cheng was at a loss at first. He was stunned for a while, and then came to his senses. Yes. We'll talk about the preliminaries then. The long-distance communication during the holiday made him a little nervous and uncomfortable when he was with Yenjika in person. He didn't know how to chat with her. Fortunately, she started the topic first. Following the matter of the martial arts club, he showed his true colors when communicating online, and didn't let the atmosphere become awkward. Unconsciously, Yenjika put down her chopsticks. There was only a little residue left in the different layers of the lunchbox in front of her. Of course, part of it was Lu Cheng's contribution. But he was too busy looking at the girl opposite him, intoxicated by her every frown and smile, to eat without tasting anything. I can't believe I ate so much. Will I get fat? Yenjika said worriedly. Lu Cheng hurried to comfort her. You won't. You are practicing martial arts. You consume a lot of energy. You need to eat more. Yenjika nodded slightly and glanced at the thermal lunchbox. It's so effective? I think the braised quail egg is still warm. It's not cold. It's a little better than I expected. Lu Cheng beamed as if he was praised. After chatting for a while, he assembled the lunchbox and sent Yenjika back to the dormitory. The two walked side by side. Lu Cheng smelled a faint fragrance, which stirred his soul and made him feel like he was in a fairyland. He didn't know if it was the smell of her shampoo or the fragrance of her body. Amidst all kinds of uncontrollable thoughts, he quietly sized her up again. He saw her jade-like white hair, small and delicate ears, and her mouth running like a train, talking about random topics. Soon, they arrived at the door of the third building where Yenjika was. When they were about to say goodbye, Lu Cheng suddenly thought of something. He looked forward to it and asked worriedly, Didn't I say I would treat you to a big meal to repay your good character? When will you be free? She won't go back on her words. I should be able to ask her out. Yenjika looked to the side, pursed her lips and smiled. Then you have to make a good strategy. You can't take me to a bad meal. Strategy? Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment. And then he realized that the girl had agreed. His mind buzzed and his heart was filled with joy. He hurriedly said, Okay, I'll make a strategy as soon as possible. No, right away. Well, I'll go back first. I still have to work on the winter vacation investigation report. Yenjika didn't look back. She waved her hand and stepped into the door of the third building. Lu Cheng stood outside the door, restless and happy. He watched Yenjika's back as she walked to the entrance of the building. Her hair reached her vest. Her hair was so good she should be 165 meters tall. Her proportions were so good. Her legs were so long and straight. While he was thinking about it, he suddenly saw the girl turn her head. This scared him. He was afraid that she would find out about his lecherous look. Seeing his bewildered look, Yenjika rolled her eyes and smiled sweetly. Lu Cheng's mind seemed to explode. He stared at her and for the first time deeply understood the ancient poem, looking back with a smile, 100 charms appear. He didn't wake up until the girl disappeared at the entrance of the building. He was excited and restless. What should I do next? Could it be that he could take advantage of the private meeting to try and hold her hand while crossing the road? He couldn't calm down and planned to go back to ask Kai Xiaoming for advice. When he entered the dormitory, before he knocked on the door of the opposite room, Kai Xiaoming jumped out with a black hero's bandana wrapped around his head. What are you doing? Lu Cheng was shocked. Kai Xiaoming said seriously, Kai Xiaoming, I'm not convinced by your strength. Chapter 102. Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing. He replied with internet slang. What? You want to rebel? Kai Xiaoming's aura flared up, but it immediately deflated. He said impatiently, I'm showing my determination. Do you understand? Determination. Wait until I participate in the special training this semester. I'll compete with you before the summer break. Okay, I'll wait and see. Lu Qing didn't harp on this matter and went straight to the point. He looked around and said in a low voice, "Talker, let's go to the balcony. I have something to ask you." Kai Zongming took off the hero's headband on his forehead and said, "You and your goddess have made a breakthrough. You want me to tell you what to do next?" F***CK, how did you guess? Lu Qing was shocked. Kai Zongming clicked his tongue. Your face is full of lust. It's almost written on your forehead. Lu Qing touched his face and laughed dryly. Is it that obvious? While talking, the two came to the balcony and closed the glass door to the living room, isolating them from the outside world. Lu Qing was about to say something when Kai Zongming said cheekily, "Since we're here to talk, I feel like I should smoke. Why don't you pretend to give me one, and I'll pretend to smoke a few puffs?" Lu Qing looked at him with disdain. He took out an air cigarette from his pocket and passed it over. "Come, Casanova, have a smoke." Sure, Kai Zongming took the cigarette, with a smile, and put it in his mouth. Just as he was about to light the cigarette, Lu Qing said with a smile, "I have a fire. I'll light it for you." "Not bad. You have a good eye," Kai Zongming praised. He leaned his head forward and pretended to wait for someone to light his cigarette. Lu Qing held back his laughter, reached out his right hand, and snapped his fingers in front of Kai Zongming. Pa! A flame appeared and burned 2 strands of Kai Zongming's hair. Damn! Kai Zongming blurted out. The flame seemed to be still in his eyes. You know how to do magic now. Magic? Have you ever seen such a cool magic? Lu Qing snapped his fingers again, and flames appeared one after another. Kai Zongming touched a few strands of hair on his forehead, and his expression changed continuously. Chung, I have to change what I said about fighting you before the summer break. How dare you use your supernatural ability to bully others? Lu Qing snickered. How? You're not thinking of backing out at the last minute, are you? How could that be? This is a man's promise, and I have to keep it. Kai Zongming said righteously. But you have to tie up one of your hands. That's only fair. Okay. I'll only use one hand. Lu Qing said happily. At this time, Kai Zongming finally recovered and asked in surprise and curiosity. When did you awaken your superpower? Isn't it amazing? Didn't you watch the video of my fight with Yi Yaoting? Lu Qing asked. Kai Zongming suddenly understood and said, That scene? I can't really remember the other matches, but that was the one that left the deepest impression. That girl wasn't bad. So your final burst of power was a byproduct of your awakening. Well, it's not amazing at the moment. I'm still developing and improving it slowly. It can only be used to light a cigarette. Lu Qing described the power of his supernatural ability truthfully. As for developing and improving it, it was inevitable. When he had the physical quality of a professional ninth pin, he would try to squeeze the jindan out of it. He would digest it little by little without exceeding the level of the challenge tournament. Kai Zongming touched his chin and glanced at Lu Qing. You've changed a lot in just half a year. I always feel that you've encountered something unscientific. Haha. Lu Qing laughed dryly and changed the topic. I've asked Yen Zhika out for a big meal in a few days. Casanova, do you think we'll have a chance to hold hands? Because he hadn't made a strategy, hadn't decided on a restaurant, and hadn't set a date yet. Hold hands. Kai Zongming was confused. What level are you at? If you don't tell me clearly, I can't judge. Lu Qing recalled and said, As long as we're free, we chat on QQ from waking up to sleeping. Sometimes we talk on the phone or video. On my birthday, she waited until midnight to call me. When I asked for a birthday song as a gift, she sang it. Today, I brought her some of her favorite food. She was so surprised and happy that she agreed to have a big meal with me. After that, he looked at Kai Zongming, waiting for his comments and advice. But he found that Casanova's mouth was half open and his face was full of confusion. Casanova? Lu Qing waved his hand in front of Kai Zongming. Kai Zongming shrank back and said in surprise, How did you progress so fast? What happened in the middle? I remember that you were still friends before the holidays. You didn't spend much time on QQ. With your character, It's impossible for you to improve by leaps and bounds. Seeing that even the veteran was shocked by his progress, Wuxia was delighted. I think that the breakthrough in our relationship was during the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Because of our common interest in martial arts, my inexperience in the challenge tournament for the first time, and some surprising experiences after that, the gap between us was greatly shortened, Kai Zongming said thoughtfully. No wonder. I've always thought that your goddess was the type that was hard to get. Otherwise, it wouldn't be your turn to court her. I was prepared for a long battle with you. I didn't expect that with the help of the challenge tournament, you would seize the opportunity. Wuxia didn't mind his words. His eyes lit up and he said, You mean she likes me too? Kai Zongming smiled slightly and said, Don't be so direct. Girls are very complicated. I can only say that she definitely has feelings for you. As to what extent, I'm not a roundworm in her stomach and I don't have first-hand reaction to judge. How can I know? But this is also a very dangerous period. Making the decision to date is a very important and cautious thing for most girls, especially those who are more conservative. Don't give her too much pressure, or it will only cause reverse psychology and her feelings for you will quickly decrease. But you can't be ambiguous and can't not show off. If this situation drags on for another year or so, you will be running all the way in the direction of male best friends. You can only wait for the day to come when you can pick her up. After hearing what you said, I'm nervous again. Wuxia gasped. Kai Zongming smiled and said, Don't be nervous. You're almost at the competition point. Perform well, and you will have a chance. Besides, don't you have me as your solid backing? Why does this sound a little disgusting? A solid backing. Wuxia made a joke to ease his anxiety. I think I understand now. Your goddess must have been focused on her studies in junior high, and didn't think about dating at all. No matter how many excellent suitors there were, she wouldn't have taken a second look at them. If you had tried at that time, even if you had the same experience in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, in my opinion, the chances were close to zero. But when she entered university and felt that she was an adult, the pressure of studying wasn't that great. Subconsciously, she began to look forward to love and her heart cracked. Then you bumped into her. Kai Zongming analyzed with great interest. Wuxia listened with admiration and said, The first half of your description is very similar to what Yenjuka said herself. Classmate killer. Kai Zongming first smiled, and then sighed like an experienced driver. This is meeting the right person at the right time. Then if I ask her out, I won't try to hold her hand to avoid giving her too much pressure. Wuxia returned to the topic and said his own thoughts. Kai Zongming laughed and said, You want to hold hands the first time you ask her out alone? Are you trying to leave an impression in her heart that you're a horny monkey? Holding hands is more important than kissing. It's the key point of quantitative change to qualitative change. Once you succeed in holding hands, it means the relationship is confirmed. Kissing and the rest is just a matter of time. Of course, if you just want to have sex, pretend I didn't say anything. Wuxia suddenly understood and said, So holding hands is so important. Casanova, what do you think I should do on that day? You should behave as you should. You should know that she is also very nervous. Try to create a familiar atmosphere. At this point, Kai Zongming suddenly chuckled and said, Also, I will teach you one more move. What? Wuxia said excitedly. Kai Zongming coughed twice and said, Since she agreed to go out with you privately, she should have some expectations in her heart. If you really don't do anything, she may be disappointed and worried about her gains and losses. She may wonder if your feelings for her have not reached a certain level. You have to do something, but don't make her nervous and stressed. What should I do? Wuxia asked. Kai Zongming smiled and said, Find a chance to hold her hand, but don't really do it. Show a kind of excitement, expectation, jerkiness, and nervousness. Pretend that nothing is wrong. After failing twice, give up in frustration. Let her feel your feelings, but also keep the tension and stress from exceeding the limit. Even if in her heart, the relationship between you two hasn't reached the point of holding hands, there will be a limit to the decline of her feelings. After all, if you haven't really held hands, You can still continue to flirt and add fuel to the fire. After this, come back and observe her attitude. If there's no change, then there's more than a 70% chance of success. If there's a little indifference, it means that you haven't reached the right level and still have to work hard. If it's the former, try to ask her out after a while. If she really does accept, it means that she's mentally prepared. Boldly find a chance to hold hands. Lu Cheng was stunned and felt that little Ming was really a genius. After a long time he said, "Have you tried this trick?" Kai Zhongming spread his hands and said, "Of course not." Lu Cheng's mouth twitched a few times. "Then why did you teach me? Do you think I need to use this kind of probing technique? With my vision, experience, and level, do you think I can't grasp when to hold hands?" Kai Zhongming said proudly, "Don't worry. In the name of Casanova, that trick will definitely work. Of course, if the other party is the slow type and doesn't notice your intention to hold hands, then I can't do anything. Also, you have to observe the situation. If the atmosphere is good enough and the reaction is right, then you can turn it into reality and hold hands for real." Lu Cheng frowned. "Do you think a newbie like me can grasp such a complicated thing? Your true colors are more or less enough." Kai Zhongming mocked him. His true colors were that he was inexperienced, nervous, and wanted to pretend as if nothing had happened. Lu Cheng didn't refute. He nodded slightly and confirmed the plan. In the end he said, "Is Qin Mo here? I need to make a gourmet guide. He's a Songcheng local. It's better to ask him than to search online. He's still sleeping. You can wait until noon." Kai Zhongming patted Lu Cheng's shoulder and made a gesture of encouragement. He opened the glass door and returned to the living room. Lu Cheng took out his phone and called Gieserscher. "Master, I'm back at the dormitory." Gieserscher scolded jokingly. "You're finally willing to come back. Well, everyone's here. We'll start the special training at 8 a.m. tomorrow. You'll wake up at 5:30 a.m. as usual and wait for me at the usual place. Okay." Lu Cheng didn't hesitate. It was time to start the martial arts training from morning to noon again. But now I'm no longer an ignorant person. Chapter 103. Lu Cheng spent the whole morning changing, washing, and chatting with Yan Zhika. When the door of the dormitory next door opened, he jumped in and found Qin Mo, who was sleeping on the bed opposite Kai Zhongming. Qin Mo was a local rich second generation, but he was not like Tao Xiaofei, who was a playboy. He had self-control and was smart enough. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, was tall and thin, and had sparse eyes. He was the standard model of a refined beast. "Qin Mo, I want to ask you something," Lu Cheng said with a smile. Kai Zhongming, who was chatting with his girlfriend, stopped and looked back with a face full of gossip. Qin Mo pushed his glasses and asked in surprise, "What's the matter?" "I've been in Songcheng for half a year, but I haven't seen this place before. I want to try out the local delicacies. What do you recommend?" Lu Cheng found a random reason and made his request clear. Qin Mo's face was full of realization. "Oh, are you chasing a girl? Why do you say that?" Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Kai Zhongming couldn't help but laugh. Qin Mo laughed. "If you don't go with a girl, do you want to find a group of men? Or be a lonely gourmet? Then I'll mourn for you for 5 minutes. Okay, get to the point," Lu Cheng urged with a dry laugh. Qin Mo thought for a while and said, "Don't go to Jiushi Street. It used to be okay, but after it became famous, it became a place to fool tourists. I'll tell you which one I want. You choose your own taste. Some things are really not to your liking." "Okay." Lu Cheng put on the posture of a primary school student and recorded the names, addresses, and specialties of the restaurants Qin Mo mentioned in his phone memo. After 10 minutes, looking at the densely packed record, he was full of achievement. He sighed and said, "I'll go online to check the reviews and confirm the taste. Finally, I'll go check out 2 or 3 restaurants in the next few days." "Check out?" Qin Mo was a little confused. Kai Zhongming knew Lu Cheng quite well. He chuckled and said, "He's going to try the food first to make sure his goddess is satisfied." Lu Cheng added a little embarrassedly, "I'm from the same place as her, and I like the local specialties that she likes. In terms of taste, We should be relatively similar. If I've eaten it and it's not bad, then there's no problem. Moreover, the point of being on the lookout isn't just to taste the food. You also have to understand the surrounding situation. For example, if there's a cake shop, if there's a variety of cake she likes in the cake shop, if she can eat it for breakfast the next day, if there's a coffee shop or a quieter place to kill time, if the cinema is far away, if there's a movie that's suitable for girls to watch recently. In short, you have to be familiar with the surroundings so that you won't have to lead her astray if you really want to go somewhere. Qin Mo was stunned. So that's what you mean? Chung, I have to say, I don't even dare to mention that I've pursued a girl before because of your efforts. When he was in middle school and high school, he was actually very attentive to the girls he liked, but he had never been like Lu Chung. Of course, this was mainly because of the difference in their personalities and attitudes, not because of the sincerity of their feelings. On the other hand, Xiaoming, who was sitting opposite him, started to mock him. He's making up for his lack of talent through hard work. It's fine as long as he can make up for it. Lu Qing didn't care at all. He grinned and said, "Don't you always say that what girls care about is the intention and attitude? My attitude is good enough, right?" Kai Zoming snorted. "It's quite good, but the girl doesn't know. You've spent so much effort and thought so much. What's the use if she doesn't know?" I've never thought of letting her know. I just want her to eat to her satisfaction, have fun, and be happy." Lu Qing said blankly. "Hey Qing, when it comes to pursuing a girl, you can't just say it and not do it, but you can't just do it and not say it either. You've spent so much effort, of course you have to let the girl know. Only when she's moved will it be valuable." Beside them, Qin Mo and Kai Zoming had the same opinion. Lu Qing frowned and said, "But I can't say it directly to her. It feels very superficial and hypocritical." Kai Zoming chuckled. "Who told you to say it directly? If you talk about Tai Bai and Tai Lu, it will lose its hazy beauty, forcefully make the other party feel touched, and it will make her feel more pressured. Well, when she asks you about the relevant matters, just casually mention that you're on time for the date. That's all. Leave the rest to her imagination. Imagination is the most beautiful and the most touching." Damn talker, your theoretical knowledge is really something. It wasn't Lu Chung who was surprised, but Qin Mo. Kai Zoming spread his hands and said proudly, "Not only do I have theoretical knowledge, but I also have practical experience." Lu Chung firmly remembered the teachings and opened the calendar on his phone to confirm when he was going to check the time and which day to arrange his date for. Looking at the calendar, he suddenly froze. Thursday is Valentine's Day. Shouldn't I do something? It wouldn't be good if he didn't do something. This is a matter of attitude. As for setting the date on that day, it definitely wouldn't work. He had to practice martial arts in the morning and have classes in the afternoon and evening. This was his schedule, and Yenjika should be the same. He could summon up the courage to skip classes, but girls who like to study might not be willing to do so. Even if they were willing, they couldn't get out. Songqing University's new campus was under closed management. After the official start of the semester, they were only allowed to enter and leave on weekends. Usually, they had to have a teacher's certificate or a student's certificate to take the school bus. In the first half of the last semester, they could buy a few more tickets on weekends and save them for other days. Later, they were defeated by the date and date printed on every ticket. In fact, with his skills, it wasn't difficult to find a place where no one could see and jump over a fence or a wall. But it didn't seem right to take a girl on her first date. Kai Zoming's mouth twitched. "What are you trying to say? Prepare for your date. If you're really worried, just pick 2 or 3 dates and put Valentine's Day among them. After all, you have to match her time, right? This way, she'll understand your intention for a date on Valentine's Day. You've got the attitude, and it's up to her whether she chooses or not. Of course, you have to be more attentive and give her more hints on that day." Got it. Lu Qing felt that listening to Casanova was better than studying for 10 years. Then he thought of another thing. "Talker, I've mentioned it to Coach Sher. If you want to participate in the special training, you can gather at the Martial Arts Center at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." "Okay, I'm going to work hard." Kai Zoming pretended to be serious. After a day of online searching, reading, and selecting, Lucheng had 2 or 3 targets. He planned to check them out before the official start of the semester. In the early morning, the fog was dim. He changed into the Songqing University martial arts suit with white and black edges, and jogged to the secluded place by the lake where he practiced daily. He saw Gieserscher already waiting there. "Show me your supernatural ability," Gieserscher ordered directly. Of course, Lucheng wouldn't rub his fingers to start a fire. That would be too low. He suddenly shook his arm and used abrupt force. With a snap, a layer of flame was ignited on the surface of his fist. Just like that? Gieserscher looked disdainful. Lucheng was embarrassed. "Yeah, I'm still adapting. I haven't improved. Keep it up and see how long you can keep it up," Gieserscher muttered. The cold wind was chilly and the flame was swaying. Lucheng tried his best to keep it from going out instantly. Gieserscher took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. He moved closer and lit the end of the cigarette. He took a deep breath and exhaled green smoke from his nose. With this, Lucheng's flame went out. It went out. "You can only light a cigarette like that," Gieserscher sneered. "In actual combat, you can only have a certain effect if you're caught off guard. I was going to teach you how to combine your supernatural ability to imitate the moves of physical invulnerability. But now hee. Combine my supernatural ability to imitate the moves of physical invulnerability?" Lucheng asked in surprise. Gieserscher said with slight disdain, "Many supernatural abilities are just a weakened version of physical invulnerability. Of course, they can be used to imitate. That's why many supernatural ability users can defeat 7th or 8th pin Dan stage fighters, if they don't use their supernatural ability, and look like professional 9th pin fighters." As he spoke, he suddenly took a step forward, and with a hook of his right hand, he released a ball of sparkling white energy. It moved close to the ground, and wherever it passed, the grass and trees would turn into ice. When it hit a tree, it immediately covered it with a silver armor, and also eliminated all of its vitality. Lucheng was inexplicably horrified and slightly stunned. Unlike the televised battles between physical invulnerability experts, the feeling of being close at hand was more real and more shocking. Master is really a physical invulnerability expert. Cough, cough, cough. Gieserscher coughed violently for a long time before glancing at Lucheng proudly. "Isn't my ice spirit force very similar to the power of frost?" "Yes, yes, yes." Lucheng nodded subconsciously. Gieserscher calmed down and laughed inwardly. "Even if you surprise me from time to time, you'll still be shocked by my ice spirit force." He pondered and said, "I'll observe your power of blaze for a while and find a way to train it and increase its power. Okay, let's start today's practice. Today, I'll teach you 2 new martial arts. One is based on your mastery of meditation, listening skill and condensation stance. It's called Ice Mirror. It's a weakened version of the Ice Sex enemy heart-freezing move. When you master it to the extreme, you'll be able to roughly sense the changes in your opponent's muscles within a radius of 2 meters without touching. However, this martial art is very difficult to master. Try to master it within 2 or 3 years. Of course, you can't rely on it completely. You still need to integrate the feedback from your eyes, nose and ears. After so many years, many sects have developed moves to counter it. Some of them can hide, confuse or counteract the movement. The other one is a new fighting style called Thunder Roar Zen. It's a martial art I created by combining the Thunder Sect's electric force and the Ice Sect's frozen force. In the body refining stage and Danchi stage, it manifests as explosion and collapse, which is commonly known as tremor force. When you hit your opponent, the force will explode explosively, shaking the opponent's body from the outside to the inside. It will shake the opponent's chi and blood, and affect the internal organs. It's not something that can be blocked by a simple parry. Before I reached physical invulnerability, I risked my life in a war-torn zone, and fought with a strong enemy. I hit him 19 times with the Thunder Roar Zen punch. Although he blocked every move in time, he was still shaken to the point of internal bleeding. The more I fought, the weaker he became. In the end, he died in my hands. Lucheng was excited. "So powerful?" Gieserscher laughed. "I watched your competition videos. Didn't you meet a guy who used modern cannon punches? That's because he didn't practice his kung fu well. He only had the force of the cannon, but not the force of the explosion. Otherwise, you would have been shaken to pieces and it wouldn't have been easy for you to regain your center of gravity. It's a pity that the supernatural ability you awakened isn't frost. Otherwise, you could have mastered the killing move of Thunder Roar Zen, severe warning in advance. In that case, one punch could shake the opponent's body, including his brain, and make him feel as if his mind was frozen by frost. He would be obviously stiff. I'll try to awaken the supernatural ability of frost. Lu Qing murmured to himself. It sounded like awakening supernatural abilities was like picking up cabbages. In the following time, he began to learn the corresponding training routines, force exertion skills, and special visualization. Before he knew it, it was almost 8 o'clock. After a quick breakfast, he hurried to the martial arts club. The special training members and the newly joined Kai Zhongming had already arrived. Lu Qing glanced around and saw Yan Zhika beside Guqing. Yan Zhika was dressed in morning clothes. Her white Songqing University martial arts suit with black edges really made her look beautiful. They looked at each other and smiled warmly. Lu Qing walked briskly to Kai Zhongming and his senior brother Li Mao, who had practiced with him last semester. Lu Qing, you look good. Li Mao greeted him. Lu Qing smiled. Senior brother Li, you look the same. You seem to be stronger. Li Mao said proudly. I didn't slack off during the holidays. I mastered part of the 24 blizzard strikes. I think I'm at the level of amateur second pin now. I'll try more actual combat this semester to overcome my nervousness. Awesome. Lu Qing praised sincerely. Chen Zhonghua, the president beside Li Mao, also smiled. Not bad. Our martial arts club has a successor. President Chen, I thought you wouldn't come this semester because of your internship. Li Mao and Chen Zhonghua didn't have so many barriers after getting along in the division competition. Chen Zhonghua smiled. I told the company's personnel to focus on preparing for the ranking event in April and try to get the professional 9th pin in one fell swoop. For the company, this is equivalent to saving money. The boss can hire one less bodyguard when he takes me on a business trip. This is the advantage of a compound talent. Don't worry, Li Mao. I won't take away your actual combat opportunity. Lu Qing, you also need to practice hard. He had a good impression of Lu Qing. He was a freshman who was busy preparing logistics last year. While they were talking and laughing, Geysersher walked in. He looked around and signaled everyone to be quiet. He coughed twice and said, "There's no competition this year. We need to find our own actual combat opportunity to practice. I plan to form a team for our martial arts club and sign up for the preliminaries." Preliminaries? Except for Lu Qing and Yan Zhika, who already knew about it, the others lost their composure. Some were surprised and some were shocked. They were using the entrance competition of the professional circle as practice. After a while, they calmed down and were full of joy, waiting for Geysersher's next words. Geysersher smiled faintly and said, "After the winter break, I'm not sure about the strength of you kids. Let's have a match later so that I can get a feel for you. Before that, I'll only announce the 2 main players of the preliminaries." 2 main players? Everyone looked at Lin Ke and Chen Zhonghua. The first one, Lin Quebec. Geysersher's voice was a little louder. Everyone was calm and felt it was natural. Geysersher coughed and continued. The second one, Lu Qing. P.S. More than 4,000 words. It's enough for other people's public news. Please recommend it on Monday. Chapter 104. Second Lu Qing. Hearing this name, Li Mao subconsciously raised his hand and picked his ears. He felt like he was hallucinating. Lu Qing? Main force of the preliminaries? Why couldn't these 2 words be connected? He wasn't disappointed that he couldn't directly become the main force. According to his own estimation, apart from Lin Ke, Chen Zhonghua, who was close to professional 9th pin, could also firmly suppress the others. Even if he was about to leave the martial arts club and lose the opportunity to practice in actual combat, he had already told Coach Shi in advance. Wasn't there still Senior Sun Jian? He was the main force of the last semester's district competition. He didn't slack off during the winter vacation and practiced hard every day. Finally, he turned the hard work and accumulation of the previous months into a harvest. Now that he had reached the level of amateur second pin, would senior Sun Jian slack off? If that was the case, what motivation would he have to participate in the special training? Besides, senior Sun Jian's girlfriend Lin Hua was not much worse than him. It wasn't surprising that she suddenly had an epiphany and mastered the still stance, and used the winter vacation to catch up with him. But the second main force of the preliminaries was not Chen Zhonghua, senior Sun, or Lin Hua, but Lu Cheng. If it were other names, Li Mao would probably accept it after being surprised. Jiang Fuxing, Li Xiaowen, and Wu Meng were mediocre, and the main purpose of participating in the special training was to improve their ranks to a certain extent, so that they could find more ways to find a job in the future. But stories of suddenly awakening dragons soaring to the sky happened from time to time. If it happened, he would sigh and be envious of them for a long time and feel disappointed for half a year. As for Guoqing and Yan Zhika, the two freshmen, it was said that they were quite talented. It was reasonable for them to create miracles. But that name was Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng was the one who trained with him and fed him moves from the beginning. She had personally witnessed him grow day by day from being at a loss of what to do to a skilled amateur fighter. She couldn't be more familiar with his strength. She had once been rather surprised by this, but compared to now, the surprise back then was simply insignificant. The distance from a standard rookie to a skilled fighter was definitely much shorter than the distance from a skilled fighter to a main force in the qualifiers. It was much, much shorter. At this time, the strange silence around made Li Mao sure that he didn't hear wrong. He couldn't help but be in a trance. Was it only reasonable in novels, but not in reality? He didn't want to believe, and didn't dare to believe. How could a newbie who had just become second to Lin Ke? How long had it been? Wu Meng, Jiang Fuxing, and Li Xiaowen were very unfamiliar with Lu Cheng. They only knew that he was a special training teammate, and what he looked like. Usually, when they saw him, they would just nod and greet him. They didn't know his rank or his martial arts progress. At this moment, they were more confused than shocked. Is it that Lu Cheng? Is he the Lu Cheng we usually see? Or was it someone with the same name? If it was the former, how did he suddenly rise from a nobody to a main force in the qualifiers? Chen Zhonghua, Sun Jian, and Lin Hua's feelings were different from Li Mao's. They stared at Geezer, unable to believe that Lu Cheng, who could not even enter the substitute list of the divisional competition more than 2 months ago, who could only do odd jobs like logistics, who had no imposing manner in normal times, had suddenly become the main force of the martial arts club without a fight. They just stared at Geezer, expecting him to say, "I was just kidding." They even forgot that Lu Cheng was beside them, and could see them if they turned their heads. In the indescribable silence, Lu Cheng looked at Yan Zhika, only to see her wrinkling her pretty nose at him, as if to say, "Look, this is your sin." He couldn't help but smile. He glanced at Lin Ke next to him, wanting to see what the leader of the martial arts club thought of him as the second main force. He also wanted to see what his brother-in-law thought of him. Maybe it was because of the delay that gave Lin Ke time to recover. Lu Cheng didn't see anything from Lin Ke's face. He was as cold and introverted as usual, showing no interest in anything other than martial arts. Cheng? Why is Cheng the second main force? It was Guoqing who broke the strange silence. She blurted out and looked at Yan Zhika next to her in surprise, as if she wanted to get an explanation from her. Soon, she turned her head and looked for Lu Cheng in the distance, trying to make sure that he didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. Cough. Geezer coughed to attract everyone's attention. Then he ordered casually, "Lu Cheng, Lin Ke, you two fight. I'll be the referee." Fight? With Lin Ke? Li Mao and Sun Jian finally looked at Lu Cheng. They didn't know what to say, as if they were saying, "It's for real." Fight? With Lin Ke? Lu Cheng was shocked at first, and then his body trembled with an indescribable feeling. This day had come earlier than he had expected. After the Jindan started to play a role in martial arts, he often fantasized about improving his strength day by day. When he was in his 3rd or 4th year, He would be able to realize the idea of a real man when he first met Lin Ke, and compete with him for the position of the leader of the martial arts club. After the Little Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, he had a whole new understanding of his own martial arts level. He felt that if Lin Ke had not broken through to the dance stage in another half a year, he would have a chance of winning if they were to fight again. When he started practicing Thunder Roar Zen this morning, he thought that once he mastered the basics of this martial art, he would have a chance to challenge Lin Quebec. This martial art shocked the opponent in fighting and the self in practicing. It shocked the bone marrow, meridians, and internal organs with the sound of thunder, and gradually tempered them. It was to integrate the strength of the whole body and achieve absolute reaction, laying the most solid foundation for the dance stage. But he didn't expect that on the first day of the new semester's special martial arts training, on the first day of Thunder Roar Zen, his master would ask him to fight with Lin Ke before he was ready. He closed his eyes, calmed down his trembling, and became excited and eager to fight. This was a fight with his former target. This was a fight with the young warrior, who used to be high and mighty in his mind. To be honest, he had been worried that Yin Jika would fall in love with Lin Quebec. However, due to the huge gap between him and Lin Ke in all aspects, he couldn't bring himself to be jealous of him. Instead, he only felt a strong sense of jealousy and fear, as well as a sense of inferiority that he didn't want to admit. However, after knowing that Lin Ke was his brother-in-law, most of these feelings disappeared completely. No matter what the result was, when he could face him calmly, stand in the same arena with him, and fight with him fiercely, he would completely bury the feeling of inferiority in the past. Lin Ke's eyes seemed to brighten up a little. He strode out of the line, and walked towards the arena. Lu Cheng subconsciously looked at Yin Jika, and saw that she was looking at him with a little worry. Worry? Lu Cheng felt warm in his heart, and was filled with more strength. He walked up the stone steps on the other side of the arena at a moderate pace. 3 minutes. Geyser made everything seem so formal. Then a soft voice came into Lu Cheng's ears. It was Geyser. He said, "Don't use the power of blaze. Let me have an accurate grasp of your pure martial arts strength." Okay. Lu Cheng nodded slightly and slightly pursed his lips. Looking at the cool but indifferent Lin Ke in front of him, he found that this was the first time he looked at him like this. He was no longer a target, but an opponent. Then how much did he know about his martial arts? In his memory, Lu Cheng suddenly realized that he didn't know enough about Lin Ke's martial arts. On the surface, Lin Ke had participated in several matches, and he himself had watched the whole process, so it was impossible for him to lack knowledge. But after careful analysis, there was a big problem. Lin Ke's kung fu was either the most common combination of moves like cannon, hammer, whip, pull, tear, pull and stir, or the 24 blizzard strikes that he learned after joining the martial arts club. What about his family's kung fu? As for Yin Jika, he was sure that their grandpa and grandma were not small masters, and had inherited their unique martial arts. Why didn't Lin Ke use them? Although the 24 blizzard strikes was also a combination of ordinary moves such as cannon, hammer, and whip, once they were combined with different forces, different techniques, and different visualization methods, they would have different characteristics and different schools. For example, the ancient Xingyi like the tiger shape, the contemporary Xingyi like the cannon fist, the Wuthering 8 movements, and the great steel throwing hand. However, Lin Ke's moves were extremely ordinary and orthodox. They did not reflect the characteristics of his school at all. Did he not practice his family's unique martial arts? Impossible. When Master taught him the yin-yang stance on the first day, he was able to beat Chen Zhonghua quickly with the skill of changing the center of gravity. Obviously, he had already entered the threshold of meditation, and practiced a similar visualization method. He had a deep understanding of the body and had a complete inheritance. Then why didn't he use it? Yin Jika looked worried. Was there going to be an unexpected change this time? Would he use his family's martial arts? While speculating, Lu Cheng was also analyzing Lin Ke's weaknesses. But because he did not know much about his martial arts foundation, he could only confirm one point. His physical strength was weak, and he could only last one round of 24 blizzard strikes in the district competition. But this was last semester. As for Lin Ke now, Lu Cheng closed his eyes. He could vaguely hear his opponent's strong heartbeat and the sound of blood gushing through his body. According to Yenjika, his chi and blood were at the peak of the body refining state, which made up for his physical strength. Since he did not know his opponent well and could not grasp his weakness, then he should take me as the master. But if he took me as the master, he should show all his strength from the beginning, like a life and death battle. Thinking about this, Lu Qing calmed down and opened his eyes. Deep in his eyes was a piece of serenity, like a frozen lake. His body's center of gravity was adjusted naturally, constantly changing like flowing mercury. But opposite him, Lin Ke did not say a word, like an old monk practicing silent meditation. At this moment, Geyser coughed and said, "Start." The audience held their breath, waiting to see Lu Cheng's moves. Lu Cheng's footsteps were crisscrossing, and his center of gravity was constantly swaying, which made it easy for people to have an illusion. Suddenly he saw Lin Ke step and slide, instantly changing from a standstill to a sprint, like the combination of Yi Yaoting's leopard form and Zhou Yuaning's wuthering 8 movements. Not only was Lin Ke unbelievably fast, but he also grasped the timing perfectly. In an unexpected way, Lin Ke came in front of him, blocking the position where it was difficult for him to use force and dodge. That vision, that judgment, that footwork. Bam! Lin Ke's right hand punched out with a half-step crushing punch. The distance was short, and the force was so strong that it seemed to shake the air, leaving no chance for Lu Qing to dodge. Lu Qing did not wait to stop moving forward. He swayed his center of gravity, sprung his spine, and moved his back like a flood dragon, forcibly moving to the side and narrowly avoiding the punch. If not for his mercurial center of gravity, with his ability to control his body, he would not have been able to dodge in such a hurry. Li Mao and others made different sounds. They did not have a direct impression of the level of Lin Ke's attack just now, but they felt that it should be so. But they were shocked by Lu Cheng's almost mysterious body movement. Just by this dodge, they could imagine his strength. Li Mao subconsciously looked at Kai Zhongming next to him, and smiled blankly and bitterly. Why do I feel that reality is a little bit like a fantasy? I have felt so for a long time. Kai Zhongming looked at the arena and sighed. Chapter 105. He moved to Lin Ke's side and avoided the fierce half-step crushing punch. Lu Qing was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he adjusted his center of gravity again and tried to move to another position. The life and death battle with the 9th pin of the dark sect made him understand that killing moves were not always used alone. Instead, they were used one after another to prevent the enemy from finding a chance to turn the tables. Just like the time when he used the secret skill of spirit and imposing force, followed by the poison needle force. No master would think that once the killing move was used, everything would be fine and there would be no follow-up preparation. If so, how could Lin Ke be so sure that he would not be able to avoid his meteor-like attack? Once he dodged, what kind of prediction, preparation, and follow-up moves did he have? In the case of a gap in strength, one must not be careless. One must be cautious. This thought flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. His body had already made a decision. He straightened his back and wriggled his spine. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he swung again and flashed behind Lin Ke like a ghost. He had just left his original position when he suddenly felt a gust of wind. Lin Ke's right leg kicked out quickly and silently. It slid past his trousers and gave him a burning sensation. Hidden killing move, silent hidden kick. This kick made Lu Qing break out in a cold sweat. Because he did not notice it before, if he did not move cautiously, he would not have been able to avoid it when he saw the kick. During the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, he had used the condensation stance to enhance his senses. Through the tug of Jin Tao's thighs on his pants, he had predicted Jin Tao's fast, accurate, and ruthless tiger tail kick, and narrowly blocked that attack. But now, before Lin Ke's hidden kick, there was no sign, as if it was driven by an instantaneous explosion. The instantaneous explosion was supposed to be like inch force, tearing the wind, rubbing against the air and making short and strong sounds. But at this moment it was silent. There was not even the sound of a normal move, which made it even harder to guard against. No matter what skill Lin Ke used, It must have involved his strong control of his body. It could not be done unless he was close to the dance stage. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, but he also found an opportunity. Because he had moved in advance, when Lin Kei's hidden kick was out, he had moved behind his opponent. At this time, Lin Kei had not retracted his right leg, so it was difficult for him to dodge or exert force. Since this was an opportunity, how could he let it go? Lu Cheng lowered his center of gravity and lowered his waist into a sitting position. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, he visualized towering snowy peaks, thousands of years of snow, and lightning falling from the sky. Rumble. The layer of snow collapsed and the white stream turned into a raging wave. Lu Cheng twisted his waist and turned his right leg to one side. He put his foot on the ground and transferred the power of the lightning fire stance and the avalanche to the ring. As if the arena was shaking, it bounced back with the same terrifying force. Lu Cheng's leg bounced up and his spine wriggled like a dragon. In an instant, he completed the transfer of power from his leg to his hand. It was as if he had stirred up all the strength in his body. The ferocity of fists and palms was not limited to the upper body, but between the legs and feet. After a winter's hard training, the reflection of his own problems in the challenge tournament, and the actual combat of life and death, Lu Cheng dared not say that he had made up for his weakness in strength, but he had made a lot of progress. More importantly, he had a deeper and more subtle understanding of how to exert strength and how to mobilize the strength in his body. Between one punch, under the condition that his pure strength did not change, the power was a little stronger than in the challenge tournament. Although it was not as strong as a professional ninth pin fighter, he was qualified to fight head-on. A violent force surged through his back. He clenched his right hand and threw a downward chop at Lin Kei's neck. A loud and clear sound reverberated, and the bluestone ground that he had used as a source of strength was faintly crushed into pieces. Chen Zhonghua, Sun Jian Li Mao, and the others were shocked to see Lu Cheng, who used to be a nobody, not only dodge Lin Kei's terrifying attack, but also avoid the silent and dangerous hidden kick with a mysterious body movement. Not only that, but he also found a chance to defeat Lin Quebec. Once again, Chen Zhonghua, Sun Jian Li Mao, and the others were shocked. Their eyes were wide open. Once again, they had a new understanding of Lu Cheng. Even Kai Zhongming, who had watched Lu Cheng's competition videos, gasped. The strength of a professional ninth pin fighter in the video could only be seen with one's own eyes. But in reality, Lin Kei had a lot of battle records and daily performances. The feeling of defeating him and defeating a stranger of professional ninth pin were completely different. Yenjika had witnessed Lu Cheng's growth and experienced the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament with him. But at that time, she watched the video after knowing the result. She had expected the change and was full of confidence. But now she had no way to know who the final winner was, and she was not sure whether the current change of the situation had determined the result. Her heart was full of emotions called anxiety and curiosity, so she watched with great concentration. Seeing that Lu Cheng seized the opportunity to counterattack, she did not show joy, but a trace of worry flashed across her face. Bam! When Lu Cheng clenched his fist and struck down, Lin Kei had just retracted his leg. Not only was his back facing the enemy, but it seemed that he had no time to respond. At this moment, Lu Cheng saw his body suddenly tremble. He bounced to the left and evaded the attack on his neck. His shoulders shook and swung, releasing a force as powerful as a bomb explosion. He took the initiative to collide with Lu Cheng's fist. Bam! When the two came into contact, Lu Cheng felt that after Lin Kei used the shaking posture to reduce some of the power, he actually followed the momentum of his own punch and leaned forward, wriggling his shoulders like a spring, giving him a strange feeling that his punch had hit cotton. Not good. Lu Cheng suddenly realized. He wanted to adjust his center of gravity and return to his mercurial state. But at this time, Lin Kei was like a lever, pressing one end and bouncing the other end. When he leaned forward, he twisted his back, undulating his spine, tightened his thighs, and pulled out his left foot with a snap, causing half of his body to lean forward. Lu Cheng had no time to dodge, so he had to continue to lower his center of gravity. His left hand quickly reached down and accurately pressed Lin Kei's leg like an eagle catching a chick. Bam! His ice-cold heart suddenly flashed with astonishment. He felt that the strength of Lin Kei's kick was beyond his imagination. It was surging and ferocious, even stronger than Yi Yaoting's outburst. It was as if two professional ninth pin fighters were exerting their strength at the same time. Borrowing strength? He removed half of my strength and borrowed the other half? What a terrible way to remove and borrow strength. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Cheng was lifted backward by this majestic force. He lost his center of gravity and his left hand was numb. He could only stumble backward without any stance or footwork. Lin Kei would definitely not let this opportunity go. He would definitely take advantage of it and attack continuously, just like when he defeated Chen Zhonghua. Lu Cheng's shock had disappeared. His heart was like a lake of condensed water. Without thinking, based on his experience, he gave up on adjusting his center of gravity and directly leaned back. Taking advantage of the momentum, he kicked out his left leg with a snap. Iron Bridge, dragon turning over. As soon as Lin Kei approached, he saw a kick whistling towards his face. However, he remained calm and didn't try to stop it. He didn't give Lu Cheng a chance to take advantage of his strength. His spine wriggled like a dragon and he suddenly bounced to the side against common sense. The muscles of his right leg tightened, and he was about to pull it out. Lu Cheng's kick missed and his heart tightened slightly. He simply gave up the idea of borrowing strength to stand up. Instead of dodging, he curled up his body and quickly rolled toward Lin Kei's position. As soon as he got close and Lin Kei's leg was about to pull out, he suddenly pressed down with his left hand. With the help of the rebound of the cold ground and the transmission of his spine, his right hand hit a strong and fierce soaring cannon, directly hitting Lin Kei's genitals. The blow of the dark sect ninth pin fighter had left a deep impression on him. Now he used the same move to seek victory and defeat. As for whether it would cause casualties, he did not consider it at all, and left it to the referee to decide. This was a challenge tournament, not a performance. There was no room for hesitation. As the soaring cannon rose, a sense of desperation arose spontaneously. There were several unconcealable cries of surprise around. Lin Kei hesitated and did not choose to kick Lu Cheng's temple, putting life and death on the line. Instead, he adjusted slightly and whipped toward Lu Cheng's right fist, tearing the air. Bam! As soon as the two made contact, Lu Cheng immediately adjusted his muscles to feel the rebound. Borrowing strength, he straightened his back and bounced up. His left hand formed a fist and pushed it toward Lin Kei's chest and abdomen with the force of a mega avalanche. Lin Kei also borrowed strength. His body leaned to one side and his right hand moved like a block. With a strong and fierce force, he hammered Lu Cheng's fist. Bam! Lu Cheng's left fist was knocked away. But with a shake of his wrist, after a beautiful and delicate arc, he circled around and grabbed Lin Kei's right wrist. This is one of the moves of the big and small hand wrap. I don't believe that you've also mastered meditation and have such a strong listening skill. As soon as he grasped Lu Cheng's wrist, Lin Kei's body and shoulders bounced. His right arm shook and released Lu Cheng's left hand with an explosive force. Then, like a snake, he spread and tried to grab Lu Cheng's hand. In that small space, the two people's hands kept touching and separating. They listened to each other's strength and changed their own movements. Their joints and tendons would occasionally be torn or shaken apart, and they had no time to move their other arms and legs. After a few back and forth, Lu Cheng finally managed to grab Lin Kei's wrist with his superior listening skill. He was about to exert force when Lin Kei suddenly took a deep breath. The pores on his wrist closed and then opened. His skin seemed to expand, which not only bounced off Lu Cheng's fingers, but also blocked his listening skill. At this moment, Lin Kei's temples bulged. He pulled his left arm slightly and punched forward at a very short distance. His speed was as fast as a shooting star, and his body seemed to grow bigger. Lu Cheng had no time to dodge or pull back his listening skill. He could only put his elbow in front of him and quickly lowered his center of gravity. Bang! The punch landed. Lu Cheng felt like he was hit by a bomb. His whole body was shaking, from muscles to bones, tendons to ligaments, blood to joints. His qi and blood were surging, and he couldn't exert force. Lin Kei seized the opportunity and stepped forward. He leaned sideways and pressed his shoulder against Lu Cheng's chest. Geezer coughed and said, Lin Ke wins. Although Lin Ke won, Li Mao, Guiqing, Chen Zhonghua and the others who witnessed it felt like they had seen a devil or a miracle. They were speechless. Lu Cheng was not only a quasi-professional, but also a professional ninth pin fighter. And he had only been practicing martial arts for half a year. Half a year. Lin Ke took 2 deep breaths and looked at Lu Cheng with cold eyes. He nodded slightly and spoke for the first time today. Not bad. Under the stage, Yanjika covered her cheeks with her hands and looked at Lu Cheng with sparkling eyes. P.S. At everyone's request, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. Chapter 106. Lu Cheng's current mood was quite complicated. He was happy to be able to fight with Lin Ke, his old target, and satisfied to have met his match. But at the same time, he also had a feeling of F***K. He had hoped to challenge Lin Ke after mastering Thunder Roar Zen, but in the blink of an eye, he was defeated by Lin Ke with similar martial arts or force. The feeling of being shocked all over was really uncomfortable. He really couldn't underestimate a young master with excellent qualifications and family history. As for the regret and pain of defeat, he didn't feel that strongly this time. How could losing to brother-in-law be considered a failure? This was a strategic victory. Didn't brother-in-law say not bad? When he came to visit in the future, he would definitely have a yes vote. There was a second just now when I thought I could defeat you. He shamelessly complimented Lin Quebec. Lin Ke nodded slightly, and turned to walk to the stone steps. Lu Cheng instinctively looked down at Yanjika, only to see her slightly pursed pink lips, bright eyes, and slightly curved mouth. As soon as their eyes met, she suddenly turned her head to the side and blushed slightly. Is she satisfied with my performance? Lu Cheng stared at her without blinking. He felt as if his eyes had turned into a camera, memorizing Yanjika's beauty frame by frame. Yanjika seemed to feel his focus. She wrinkled her pretty nose, turned around, clenched her right fist, and made a posture like a rocket launcher with a fierce expression. Humph! Lu Cheng seemed to imagine a delicate humph in his mind, as if he heard the girl say, "How dare you use this move on my brother?" This. Lu Cheng blushed with shame and forced a smile. He put his hands together and begged for forgiveness. Why are you standing on the platform like a fool? Go down after the fight. At this time he heard Geysersher's angry voice. Yanjika couldn't help but laugh. She couldn't keep the fierce expression on her face anymore. Her eyebrows relaxed, and her dimples showed. She looked like 100 flowers in full bloom. Lu Cheng was stunned for a moment, but soon sobered up. He awkwardly scratched the back of his head and hurriedly moved forward. In a panic, he directly jumped out of the arena. The clueless Li Mao, Chen Zhonghua, and the others sensed the atmosphere and burst into laughter. Kai Zongming, who was observant and knew the whole story, laughed so hard that he couldn't stand up straight. After this episode, the shock in everyone's heart eased a lot. They also accepted the fact that Lu Cheng had miraculously improved by leaps and bounds. No matter how good his martial arts strength was, he was still the young and inexperienced freshman, the Lu Cheng of the past. Seeing Lu Cheng returning to the team, Li Mao gave a wry smile and expressed his surprise. It's only been a while since we last sparred. How did you reach the level of professional ninth pin? Even if you're on a rocket, it won't be that fast. Lu Cheng was pleased to hear that. He said modestly, Senior Brother Li, we haven't sparred since the start of the division tournament. It's been about 3 months, right? A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Let alone 3 months? Even if it's been 3 years, I still can't accept it. Look at how hard I worked to improve from amateur third pin to amateur second pin. How can you improve so quickly? How can others live? Li Mao said, half joking and half sighing. Lu Cheng smiled and said, it's probably because I'm talented in meditation. I've mastered the visualization of yin-yang stance and 24 blizzard strikes very quickly. My control of my body has become stronger. Naturally, my training is targeted. 1 piece can replace 5 pieces. He gave a brief explanation in a joking manner. Li Mao and the others didn't ask for a detailed explanation. Just this explanation was enough to comfort themselves and restore their emotions. They all sighed and praised Lu Cheng. Among them, Chen Zhonghua said in a slightly disappointed tone, "You're right. If I had known, I would have delayed my graduation. With Lin Ke and you as the main force, our team will definitely make it. Maybe we can even enter the nationals." Lu Cheng didn't know how to answer. He could only nod as a response. Beside him, Kai Zongming lowered his voice and smiled. "Cheng, about the competition before the summer vacation." Before he finished, Lu Cheng interrupted him with a smile. "This is a man's promise. Are you going back on your words again?" "Of course not," Kai Zongming said sternly. "What do you mean by again?" "But I think it's not enough to tie one hand. You should tie the other one as well." Lu Cheng was annoyed and amused. "Do you want to tie both legs?" Kai Zongming chuckled. "If you're willing. Get lost." Lu Cheng responded concisely. After everyone calmed down, Gizersher coughed a few times and said, "You don't have any objection to Lin Ke and Lu Cheng being the main force in the preliminaries, right?" "No." Their voices were very loud, and they shouted in unison. But the emotions in their tones were different, which made Lu Cheng feel good. Gizersher nodded with satisfaction. "Next, let's continue the competition. Sun Jian Li Mao, you two fight." Everyone's attention soon returned to the arena. Lu Cheng was also interested in the performance of Li Mao and senior brother Sun Jian. Li Mao and senior brother Sun Jian were fighting very well. 24 blizzard strikes versus 24 blizzard strikes. The sound of collisions could be heard from time to time. The battle was so fierce that it was hard to tell who was the winner. They haven't entered the entry level of silence skill. 24 blizzard strikes only have the appearance but no substance. Lu Cheng couldn't help but sigh. His two senior brothers, who he used to think were very strong, were full of flaws in his eyes now. The core of the 24 blizzard strikes lay in the 3 visualization methods. If one couldn't enter meditation quickly, one would lose the biggest difference between it and other martial arts. Moreover, the other core of this fighting method was to constantly borrow force to become stronger and stronger, fierce and crazy. However, without the control and adjustment of the body by the yin-yang stance, and without the effect of the condensation stance, one could only vaguely grasp the shape of it. After 7 or 8 minutes, both of their physical strength reached a bottleneck. Finally, the winner was decided. Li Mao lost to Sun Jian by 1 move, but his improvement was also very obvious. He showed the strength of amateur second pin. Next, the battles continued one after another. Lin Hua against Li Xiaowen and Wu Meng against Jiang Fusheng. Next round, Guqing Yinzhika U2. Gizersher glanced at the team. Lu Cheng immediately looked at Yinzhika. He saw that she suddenly pursed her lips and seemed to be a little nervous. Then she turned her head and looked at him. When their eyes met, Lu Cheng hurriedly made a gesture to cheer her up. He opened and closed his mouth, mouthing the same words, and kept a calm smile, trying to influence her with his attitude and dispel most of her nervousness. Yinzhika smiled gently, looking gentle and smart. She closed her eyes and walked toward the ring. During the 3-minute conversation, she didn't say anything, as if she was adjusting her mood. Guqing and her were good sisters, so naturally, she wouldn't disturb her. Lu Cheng looked at her nervously. He was afraid that Yinzhika would be hurt, but he was also worried that she would fail and become depressed. He didn't know what level she was at now. With Gizersher's start, Yinzhika didn't defend and counterattacked. She lowered her back and moved forward with the snake steps. Her center of gravity seemed to be swaying. Guqing's expression changed slightly. She didn't expect Yinzhika to have such a great achievement in the snake steps. She didn't dare to attack blindly, so she put on a defensive posture. Yinzhika took a step forward and slid to Guqing's left side. Clenching her right hand into a fist, she whipped out a single whip. Her fierce momentum was in sharp contrast to her delicate figure, giving people a subtle feeling of softness and toughness. Guqing's shoulders were thick and she was born with great strength. Seeing this, she didn't fear. She pulled back her left arm and rushed forward with a blast punch. Bang! The two collided. Yinzhika's body shook slightly, but strangely swayed back. She put her left hand in a block and hammered down sharply. The leveraging skill of 24 blizzard strikes. Lu Qing watched with satisfaction. Yenjika had already entered the entry level of meditation and mastered the yin-yang stance well. Now she finally mixed it into the 24 blizzard strikes. Yenjika's moves became fiercer and fiercer. Guoqing tried to respond with the 24 blizzard strikes. Since she hadn't entered meditation, she couldn't leverage as much as Yenjika. Gradually she fell into a passive position. Her family had a martial arts club, and she had good qualifications. Seeing this, she knew she was in trouble. She suddenly exhaled and forcefully bumped into Yenjika, trying to use her strength to interrupt the 24 blizzard strikes. But at this time, Yenjika's back moved up and down like a dragon. Her spine bounced and pulled back with some difficulty. She changed her direction and avoided Guoqing's attack. Then she performed the 24 blizzard strikes again. Guoqing, who couldn't get rid of Yenjika, could only hold on bitterly. The rest was history. Yenjika wins. With Gizershur's announcement, Lu Qing raised his hands. Then he saw Yenjika looking at him. Her pink lips moved up and down, slightly gasping for breath. Her cheeks were flushed because of the fierce battle. Her eyes were so bright that people didn't dare to look at them directly, for fear that they would be lost in them. Seeing Yenjika's excited and happy face, Lu Qing raised both his hands and gave her a thumbs up. Then he made a posture of prostrating himself on the ground to show his happiness and admiration. Yenjika's eyes curved and the corners of her mouth raised. She looked proud and playful. Compared with her elegant and delicate appearance, it was a different kind of beauty. Watching her come down, Lu Qing recalled the battle just now. He didn't know if it was because one is marked by one's company, but Yenjika's fighting style was obviously imitating his own. What's more, she was good at the same things as him, except that she didn't have abnormal physical strength. She was almost a weaker version of him. Of course, the details were different. She hadn't used the martial arts passed down in her family. So far, she had a stable strength of amateur fourth pin. Counting the secret martial arts passed down in her family, she was probably of amateur third pin. The last round, Chen Zhonghua and Kai Zongming. Gizershur announced. Kai Zongming's face changed slightly. He turned to Lu Qing and blurted out, "I'm going to fight too? I just joined, and it's with that crazy gorilla." Lu Qing looked at him sincerely and said with pity, "My condolences." Chapter 107. When Chen Zhonghua got close to Kai Zongming, Lu Qing couldn't help but cover his eyes, as if he could already imagine what was going to happen next. Little Ming was indeed talented, but he had always been slacking. Not to mention that he had not participated in the special martial arts training before. He had only attended 1 or 2 martial arts classes 3 times a week. Under such circumstances, even if Gizershur taught the first part of the 24 blizzard strikes to the other members, it would only enrich his fighting style and not improve his strength. It would only help him to maintain the strength of amateur fifth pin and increase it slightly. If he were to encounter a professional level master like Chen Zhonghua, no matter how good his mouth was, the result would be predictable. Sure enough, Lu Qing couldn't bear to look at Kai Zongming being pressed to the ground by Chen Zhonghua, like a girl being ravaged by a strong man. It was extremely tragic. Don't laugh, don't laugh. Lu Qing kept warning himself, and put on a sympathetic posture to welcome Kai Zongming's return. Damn, it's like being raped. Talker, who was at a loss, still mercilessly made fun of himself. Can't help it. Lu Qing chuckled in a low voice and looked at Casanova's sad eyes for a while before calming down. He said with a serious face, "Now do you understand the value of practicing day after day? With your talent, it won't be a big problem for you to reach amateur third or fourth pin after a semester of special training. Do you understand now? Do you know it's time to practice martial arts?" "Yes. King want to quit the martial arts club now. After this battle, my handsome and dashing image is completely gone." Kai Zongming sighed and said with a hopeless expression, "Fortunately, it's the special training now and only a few of you saw it. Otherwise, I'd be too ashamed to face anyone." Lu Qing pretended to be serious and said, "As the saying goes, 1 spreads to 10, and 10 spreads to 100. We have more than 10 people here." Kai Zongming was stunned and said, "Just strangle me." At this time, Gizersher coughed twice and said, "Yes, after the special training last semester, you guys have made significant progress. Some of you have even improved a few pins. But don't be complacent. It's nothing strange in the amateur ranks." "Well, I announce the third main force of the preliminaries. Sunjian, you have to practice hard and strive to reach amateur first pin as soon as possible. The substitutes are Li Mao, Lin Hua, Yinjika and Guiqing. Everyone else, continue to work hard." Hearing this, Luqing couldn't help but look at Yinjika again. His eyes were full of joy, and he wanted to congratulate her for making it into the preliminaries team. Yinjika also looked at him. She lifted her chin slightly and looked happy. When their eyes met, the atmosphere was harmonious and warm. Gizersher continued, "From today onwards, I'll teach you the rest of the 24 blizzard strikes. Guiqing, your temperament isn't very suitable for this style of fighting. In order not to waste your strength and talent, I'll teach you a new boxing style which is known for its strength and fierceness. It's called Mountain Moving Fist. Although the 24 blizzard strikes is also known for its fierceness, its kung fu is delicate in its subtleties, state of mind and perception. These are all your weaknesses. We have to hide our weaknesses and show our strengths, right?" "Coach, sure, I'll listen to you," Guiqing replied energetically. Losing to Yinjika made Guiqing a little depressed. After all, Yinjika's strength was obviously not as good as hers last semester. But in just a few months, her achievements in the 24 blizzard strikes were surpassed by Yinjika. How could she be happy? When Coach Sher said that it was because she wasn't suitable for it, Guiqing smiled again, which made Yinjika secretly relieved. Luqing couldn't be more familiar with the content of the latter part of the 24 blizzard strikes. With his proficiency, he was able to teach others. But he still listened attentively and watched very carefully. As for the lesson that Coach Sher gave to Guiqing, he also listened attentively. It was not a bad thing to master more kung fu. Even if he didn't focus on it, he could still enrich his own fighting style. If he really mastered it, he might be able to restrain the enemy with mountain moving fist. Still stance practice, training routine, deduction of fighting style, strength training, footwork training. Time flew quickly in the atmosphere of concentration. In the end, it was still the practice of practicing moves. Except for Kai Zongming, who gave it to Chen Zhonghua. All the combinations were the same. But Luqing and Li Mao's roles were reversed. It was Luqing who practiced the moves, and helped Li Mao master the latter part of the 24 blizzard strikes. In the process, he also learned a lot. From a different perspective, he could see many problems that he had neglected before. Li Mao was like a mirror, reflecting some of his bad fighting habits one by one. Tempering was not only about tempering, but also about hammering. Through continuous hammering, the impurities were forced out little by little in order to achieve perfection. This was one of the methods. When it was close to noon, Gizersher announced the end of today's special training. Luqing and Kai Zongming gathered together, nervously looking at Yinjika's figure. "Why are you so nervous?" Kai Zongming looked at him with disdain. Luqing took a breath and said, "I'm going to ask her when she's free. I'm going to ask her whether the 14th or 16th is better. The 14th is Valentine's Day. Will it be too direct? Will it cause any bad reaction?" Kai Zongming laughed and said, "What's there to be nervous about? But if you keep your nervous state and ask her, the effect may be better." "Why?" Luqing was puzzled. In this field, Kai Zongming was qualified to be his professor. Kai Zongming spread his hands and said, "Think about it. A calm and fierce young expert who just shook the world in the arena is nervous and uneasy because of you. How cute is this contrast? I bet that most girls will like this." "Damn, you even know how to use the word cute." Luqing thought carefully and felt that it was very reasonable, but he did not admit defeat. Kai Zongming smiled proudly and said, "I'm a veteran of the internet." Luqing plucked up his courage and walked quickly to Yinjika. When he was in front of her, Guiqing snickered and said, "Here you go again. You can talk. I won't disturb you." With a swoosh, Luqing felt that he was probably blushing. He instinctively operated the condensation stance, trying to suppress his emotions. But when he saw Yinjika's pretty face also blushing, which contrasted with her jade-like skin. He felt a buzz in his head. The condensation stance he just used was smashed into pieces. Yenjika's beautiful eyes sparkled and she spat. Don't listen to Qing's nonsense. Yes, yes. Lu Qing nodded repeatedly and blurted out nervously. I've chosen several delicacies in Songqing. I'm going to try them this afternoon and confirm one. Do you think you're free on the 14th or 16th? Just when he finished, he wanted to slap himself again. Didn't Casanova say that he should wait for Yenjika to ask, and then mention it casually? Why did he say it directly? No matter how good the plan is, it can't withstand the impromptu performance. On time. Taste the food. Yenjika repeated in a low voice. Her dimples were faintly discernible. She pursed her lips and glanced at the expectant and nervous Lu Qing with a smile in her eyes. She muttered to herself, 14th, 14th. Suddenly, she lowered her head to avoid Lu Qing's eyes. Her ponytail swayed and her cheeks were still red. Seeing this, a poem flashed in Lu Qing's mind again. It was the tenderness of lowering one's head, like the shyness of a lotus flower in the cold wind. After spending so much time with Yenjika, my literary attainment seems to have improved. When he was trying to ease his anxiety with self-mockery, Yenjika said softly, I'm afraid the 14th can't work. I have classes in the afternoon and evening. How about Saturday? I have nothing to do except martial arts training. Okay. Seeing that Yenjika's attitude was not cold, Lu Qing was happy and quickly agreed. After saying that, he thought of what had happened before and added, when I was fighting just now, I didn't mean to. It was purely because my mind was empty and I subconsciously used it. Yenjika raised her head. Her cheeks were red and her dimples were shallow. I wanted to scare you again, but I didn't. Well, my grandpa said that when you are in the arena, don't think about whether to hold back or whether to use fierce moves. These are all left to the judges and supervisors. Otherwise, the fighters who come out of the arena can't compare with the fighters who have been through life and death situations. As long as you don't attack fiercely when the opponent has no resistance or obviously lost the match, everything else is normal and should be encouraged. Thank you for your guidance, Coach Yen. Lu Qing blurted out. Hearing this, Yenjika raised her right hand to cover her mouth and chuckled. Her eyes seemed to be curved. Lu Qing, on the other hand, was also smiling warmly. Coach Yen, my Coach Yen. After this episode, the awkward atmosphere caused by Guqing completely disappeared. Lu Qing casually mentioned, your cousin's kung fu has changed a lot. Is this your family's unique skill? Yenjika nodded her head like a chick pecking rice. My grandpa and grandma both came from Shushan study. They created several family-handed-down kung fu based on the unique skill of the fighting sect and the yin and yang magneto-optic sword. One of them is called yin-yang twist, which is derived from the shifting stars of the fighting sect and the polar chaos of the yin and yang magneto-optic sword. It also incorporates some of the contents of Tai Chi. It's a pretty good way to release and borrow force in the Danqi state and the body refining state. It's the core of the family's fighting style. If you don't practice it, you won't be able to master it. Although my cousin is talented, he has been stuck in this kung fu. When he mastered 24 blizzard strikes and comprehended it by analogy, he suddenly had an epiphany and really mastered our family's kung fu. Lu Qing suddenly understood. No wonder your cousin didn't use his family's unique skill. So it was because of this. It's not just because of this. Yenjika smiled. Her teeth were white, neat, and cute. The last punch he gave you was the meteor force, which comes from the fighting sect's unique skill, flame meteor. It seems similar to the modern blast fist, but it emphasizes the swiftness of the move, leaving no chance for the opponent to dodge. When you practice it to a certain extent, you can even offset the wind sound of the punch by opening and closing your pores. Once you hit the opponent, the force will explode. Not only can it shake the opponent's whole body, but it can also directly explode into flames and rolling airwaves after the physical invulnerability state. However, the meteor force has a high physical requirement. My cousin could only use it once before. It's better and more convenient to use 24 blizzard strikes unless it's a critical moment. Now that he has reached the peak of the body refining state, I guess he can use it 3 or 4 times. Lu Qing listened with great interest. So it's like this. Unknowingly, he completely understood the ins and outs of his brother-in-law. Hee. Does this count as a girl helping her husband? Thinking of this, he remembered something and said, "Didn't I say I would be your sparring partner? How about I tell Coach Sher tomorrow and ask him to change our group?" "No. That's too embarrassing," Yenjika blurted out. Then she softened her tone and said with a smile, "If you really want to be my sparring partner, then take an hour on Saturday and Sunday." "An hour on Saturday and Sunday? I can spend time with Yenjika in private every weekend?" Lu Qing was ecstatic. He couldn't hide his smile and said, "Good. Absolutely no problem." Yenjika turned her head and looked to the side. She slightly lowered her head and said with a smile, "Well, I'm going to take a shower first." "You should go too. You smell like sweat." "Okay." Lu Qing nodded repeatedly and watched Yenjika enter the female locker room. When he walked back quickly, he felt like he was stepping on clouds and was about to ascend to immortality. We the common people are so happy today. Chapter 108. Back in the men's locker room, Lu Qing entered the bathroom. Showered with hot water, Lu Qing couldn't help but hum a little tune to wash away his physical and mental fatigue. He changed his clothes and dried his hair with a towel. When he came out, only Kai Zongming was there. "Not bad. You look happy." Little Ming, who was a little impatient from waiting, teased him. "Heh." Lu Qing answered with a laugh. Kai Zongming sighed. People have to experience a pure, burning, heartfelt feeling once in their life. Only when they don't consider other feelings can they be considered complete. You should cherish it. If you fall in love again in the future, you won't be so attentive and unreserved. Lu Qing frowned. "Why do you say I'll fall in love again? Wouldn't it be better to maintain such pure feelings until the very end? Don't you want to get a girlfriend for marriage?" Kai Zongming laughed and said, "How can feelings be so simple? It's only the beginning when you get her. There will be friction and twists and turns. This is an era full of temptation. It's hard to stay with your first love until the end. I'm just giving you a heads up. Two people will not only get along well. I believe that as long as both parties can communicate well, are willing to work hard, and know how to tolerate each other, it's still possible." Lu Qing answered seriously. Kai Zongming's mouth twitched. He patted him on the shoulder. "I feel that we have a communication barrier." After filling his stomach in the cafeteria, Lu Qing embarked on the journey to check out the location. After throwing himself in the window seat of the school bus, he took out his phone and logged into QQ as if there was no one else around. "Have you set off?" Covering mouth expression, Yenjika laughed. "Just got on the bus." Lu Qing's expression softened instantly. Yenjika didn't mention it again. She sent a fist clenched and crying expression. "I feel very tired today, much more tired than before. My waist and back are aching." Lu Qing hurriedly rubbed her head and said, "Maybe it's because you woke up early to train." "Yeah, I didn't just train." Yenjika replied with a "Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing?" emoji. Lu Qing smiled and asked with concern, "Why don't you wake up early and stop your training? With your physiques, 4 hours of special training is more than enough. Any more and it will cause fatigue and injury. I'm not saying that your physiques are bad, but I'm saying that you don't have an abnormal endurance like mine. If you really can't take it, just stand still for half an hour in the morning and rest up. It's good enough." Yenjika sent an emoji of rubbing her chin with her right hand and said, "That makes sense. Hee. I can be more intimate with the bed. I'll wake up at 7 o'clock tomorrow and stand still for half an hour on the balcony of the dormitory. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I won't be able to listen to the afternoon and evening classes. Coach Yen is really good at following good advice." Lu Qing complimented her again and said, "I found that my appetite has grown again. I ate 50 cents worth of rice today, but I feel like I didn't eat at all. Although I have to save my stomach for punctuality, I reckon that I won't be able to fill my stomach if I don't eat at all in the future. And that's not including the dishes." Squatting in the corner and drawing circles expression, Yenjika replied, "Me too. I used to be a girl with a delicate appetite. But now, I'm too embarrassed to order from the same window. This window gives me 30 cents, another window gives me 30 cents, and finally another window gives me 20 cents. That's a total of 80 cents worth of rice. I feel like a rice bucket. Then what am I? 2 rice buckets? A rice pot? Lu Cheng replied with a smile, ignoring the glances of the people beside him who were curling their lips and sizing them up. Once he started chatting, time flew. He arrived at the old campus of Songqing University before he even looked up at the scenery. He found the first target through online taxi hailing, Dingshang Spicy Crab. It was already past 1 o'clock, and the peak of the afternoon market had ended. Lu Cheng didn't have to wait long before he got to his seat. Seeing that he was alone, the waitress was slightly surprised and blurted out, "Sir, how many of you are there? Do you need to wait until everyone is here?" "Just one." Lu Cheng smiled awkwardly but didn't back down. This was a sacred task. The waitress couldn't help but take another look at Lu Cheng, as if she was looking at a single dog exuding a scent of loneliness. She didn't ask further and smiled politely. "What kind of crab do you want? We have several grades. The cheapest is 99 cents per catty, and the most expensive is 499 cents. Lu Cheng was quite frugal with himself. He looked at the label on the outside of the water tank and said, 199 cents. "Give me 2. According to Qin Mo's introduction, this was a semi-hot pot type. First, one could fry the crab with spicy rice cakes, lotus root slices, and other spicy things. After eating the meat inside, one could add soup to boil it and cook some shrimp dumplings, beef, handmade noodles, and other things. Crabs alone couldn't fill one's stomach. After ordering, he was led to his seat by the waitress. Along the way, he looked around and observed the environment. According to Little Ming, if it was the first time you asked a girl out for a meal, you shouldn't choose an environment that was too noisy, too crowded, or too noisy. Otherwise, the taste of the food wouldn't be able to offset the bad impression. Unless it was really too delicious. A table for 2, a table for 4, and a table for 2 on both sides of the large table with a space in the middle. The environment is okay. Lu Cheng nodded with satisfaction and waited for the spicy crab to be served. He was quite satisfied with this meal. The stir-fried crab was very fragrant, and the spicy taste was slightly sweet. It was very appetizing, and it was very suitable for his taste. After that, the handmade noodles cooked by the hot pot were smooth and tender. It could also be considered a delicacy. She should like it. Comparing their tastes, Lu Cheng thought happily. After paying the bill, he hurriedly left the place and searched for the surrounding shops. Because he still had to try out 2 more shops, time was tight, so he did not leisurely stroll around. Instead, he started running, ignoring the gazes of the passers-by, constantly looking left and right. Normally, running like this would inevitably bump into pedestrians or electric poles. However, it was as if he had a lot of eyes. He could always slip and avoid in time, running through the flowers without taking any fragrance away. Does this count as a different kind of martial arts training? He thought with slight satisfaction. Behind the shopping mall 300 meters away, Lu Cheng found a quiet and romantic cafe. He sat down and carefully tasted the drinks and snacks here. Yenjika once said that she didn't like coffee, but she seemed to really like milk tea. There were several varieties here. Lu Cheng looked at the cups of drinks in front of him, and suddenly felt a great pressure on his bladder. He was quite satisfied with the environment here. It was not like the Starbucks at the entrance of the shopping mall. Not only was there a lot of people, but the seating arrangement was also not hidden. It gave people the feeling that they had entered McDonald's or KFC. It was not at all suitable for a date, nor was it cool. After running 100 meters to the left of the cafe, Lu Cheng found a cake shop. He walked back and forth, identifying different kinds of bread. He picked a few varieties that Yenjika usually mentioned and bought them. Then he sat down and started to eat directly. The quality is not bad. He touched his belly and thought with satisfaction. Lu Cheng took the elevator to the 5th floor of the mall. He looked at the posters of the upcoming movies and asked the staff about them. He had a preliminary impression of each movie, and whether the tickets were easy to buy or not. If she wants to watch a movie, I can introduce it to her directly and leave an impression that I have my own opinion and know what it is. He imagined the scene of the date freely. Finally, Lu Qing also studied the nearby bus routes in case he couldn't get a taxi or a car online. He couldn't let the girls stand there and wait, right? He was busy the whole afternoon, running here and there. His stomach was full, but his spirit was very excited. In the end, according to the taste preference, the distance to other shops, and the surrounding traffic situation, he chose Ding Shang spicy crab. He planned to leave the other two places for future dates. The next morning, the first class of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club of this semester officially began. There were fewer people than before, but they were more serious. Lu Qing, who was practicing Ice Mirror and Thunder Roar Zen, acted as Geysershi's assistant temporarily like other members of the special training group. Besides training himself, he also had to give some advice to the students around him. When Geysershi took the other half to the strength training gym, a group of people came in the door. There were artists with cameras, female reporters with microphones, and school staff accompanying them. "Hey Qing, did you see her? That reporter from last year. Xu Shurui." Kai Zongming's eyes lit up. He stopped practicing and patted Lu Qing on the shoulder. Lu Qing followed the voice and saw the source of his family's dark history. The girl with the nameplate Xu Rui on her chest looked much more mature than she did in the video. Her delicate face had lost its scholarly look, and her eyes were bright and full of spirit. This time, due to the weather, she wore a black down jacket, which made her skin look even fairer. Her knee-high boots outlined her long, straight legs. Interview. There's a reporter for an interview. The rest of the members of the martial arts club started to talk. Xu Rui glanced at the members of the martial arts club, and suddenly brightened up. She quickly approached them and found Lu Qing and Kai Zongming. She smiled and said, "Do you remember me?" "I remember." Compared to the last interview, Lu Qing wasn't as nervous and uneasy. Kai Zongming nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, that was the first time I was on TV." Xu Rui also smiled and said, "I watched the video again before I left this morning. I still remember you too, so I recognized you at a glance. Would you like to be interviewed again today?" "Okay," Lu Qing said concisely. To be honest, he was not that interested in the local TV station's interview, but he had to take the teacher's face next to him into consideration. "No problem." Kai Zongming was always crazy in front of people. Xu Rui nodded and said, "Then I'll interview you one by one. Shall we start with you?" She looked at Lu Qing. "Go ahead." Lu Qing answered politely. Xu Rui suddenly burst into laughter. "This classmate, I think you've changed a lot. The last time we were interviewed, you were very nervous and stiff. Today, how do I put it? You're much calmer and more composed in your written language. Because I have experience." Lu Qing explained casually. Xu Rui nodded slightly and said, "Then I'll officially interview you." According to the information given to me by your publicity department, the martial arts club is going to participate in this preliminaries. Do you know this? Hearing this, the surrounding members of the martial arts club were excited. They had just heard about this. Preliminaries? The martial arts club is going to organize a team to participate in the preliminaries? Yes. Lu Qing finally understood why the reporter came. Xu Rui smiled encouragingly and said, "Then what do you think about this? What do you expect?" "Well, I think it's a good thing. We don't have any official competition this semester. In order to make up for the shortcomings of actual combat training, participating in the preliminaries is the best way. That way, we can fight with real masters, which will improve our strength a lot." Lu Qing answered honestly. Xu Rui frowned and felt that this answer was a little weird, but she couldn't tell why. She had to make fun of him and said, "Student, don't you think you're too formal? Just like the official spokesperson of the martial arts club." "I'm a fan of martial arts. Maybe I've read too much news and reports about it," Lu Qing explained humorously. Xu Rui chuckled and said, "Well, next question. On the way here, I looked at the list given to me by your publicity department and found a strange name called Lu Qing. He didn't participate in the division of the National University martial arts competitions last year, but this year he became the main force in the preliminaries. What's the story behind this?" Do you know what kind of person Lu Qing is? Does he value privacy and didn't join the martial arts club last semester? How strong is his strength? Is he of professional ninth pin? Lu Qing was stunned and said with a wry smile, "These questions I can't answer." Beside him, Kai Zongming was trying hard to hold back his laughter. Xu Rui frowned and then smiled and said, "Well, can you point to Lu Qing for me? I'll interview him directly later." Poof. Kai Zongming couldn't help laughing. Lu Qing pointed to himself and said helplessly, "I'm Lu Qing." Chapter 109. You are Lu Qing? Xu Rui opened her mouth slightly. She believed that if she was drinking water, she would have spat it out. How could a silly boy who was just a passerby in last year's interview suddenly become the main force of Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the preliminaries? He should be at least of amateur 1 or 2 pin. Could it be that she was wrong? But she had been in the ring for a year, and mainly participated in martial arts competitions. She had seen more than 50 local masters, if not 100. How could the silly Lu Qing be like that? The surrounding martial arts club members were also talking about it. They didn't expect that a classmate who was easy to get along with and diligent in teaching was actually one of the main forces of the martial arts club. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Lu Qing saw that the reporter didn't believe him and laughed. "Do you want me to show you my student ID? Xu Rui came back to herself from the shock, and suddenly felt that this was a very valuable material. She immediately became excited. "No, you can't lie about this kind of thing. Wouldn't it be clear if he asked Coach Shi later? Lu Qing, I feel that you have a lot of stories. Can I do an exclusive interview with you?" Lu Qing didn't want to expose himself in front of the camera, so he found an excuse. "But it's training time now." "It's okay. Lu Qing, just accept the interview. It's worth the publicity that our martial arts club has a master." The teacher next to them persuaded. Xu Rui pointed at the strength training gymnasium. "How about this? I'll help you apply to Coach Shi. If he doesn't agree, we'll find another opportunity later." "Okay." Lu Qing decided to tell his teacher first and ask him to turn down the interview. A group of people immediately moved to the strength training gymnasium, leaving Kai Zongming standing there in a daze and complaining to himself. What about the interview one by one? After entering the strength training gymnasium, Lu Qing quickened his pace and approached Geezer Shi first. He lowered his voice and said, "Master, there are reporters who want to interview me. Can you help me block them?" Geezer Shi snorted. "Isn't it good to be interviewed? As long as you can keep improving, there will be a lot of similar things in the future. You need to learn to deal with the media. Anyway, your experience of starting from scratch will be discovered in the future. Why don't you take the initiative to tell them?" Lu Qing listened thoughtfully and nodded slightly. "All right then." When he walked to the corner of the strength training gymnasium with Xu Rui and the cameraman, he glanced at Yan Zhika subconsciously. He saw the girl looking at him with a smile. Her eyes sparkled like water, and she made a gesture of encouragement. His heart warmed, and his resistance to the interview faded a little. "Lu Qing, relax a little. Let's just treat this as a casual chat between friends." Xu Rui was no longer a newcomer in the workplace who had just left school. Her interview skills were already very proficient, and there was not the slightest bit of awkwardness. Lu Qing wasn't nervous. After all, it was just an exclusive interview with a local TV station. Even if he didn't perform well, not many people would see it. He smiled calmly and said, "I'm very relaxed. Reporter Xu, you can begin." This was a temporary interview, so Xu Rui couldn't prepare an outline in advance. She could only use her brain and act on the spot. "You're a freshman, right?" "Yes, I just joined the martial arts club when I was interviewed last year." Lu Qing added. Xu Rui nodded. Taking advantage of this pause, she thought quickly and thought of the next question. "Before you joined the martial arts club, which amateur pin were you? You must have improved very fast recently, right?" "Before I joined the martial arts club, I was just a pure amateur. I didn't know anything about still stance, training methods, or fighting methods. As for strength, I might not even be able to beat a goose." Lu Cheng had recently learned a term on the internet called the strength of a goose, which was said to be used to ridicule the strength unit in some novels. Xu Rui didn't get his humor. The reporter girl and cameraman were both stunned and stupefied. She blurted out, "You were a newcomer half a year ago? Not even an amateur ninth pin?" "Yes, I started practicing martial arts in the last half a year," Lu Qing answered honestly. Xu Rui was a seasoned reporter, so she recovered faster than the cameraman. She gasped and said, "That is to say, it only took you half a year to grow from a newcomer to the main force of the martial arts club? Well, what's your strength now?" "I haven't done the ranking event yet. I guess I'm a quasi-professional. I plan to participate in the ranking event of professional ninth pin at the end of April," Lu Cheng said modestly. From a newcomer to professional ninth pin in half a year. Xu Rui was excited as if she had gotten a big news. Her eyebrows and eyes were full of excitement. "Are you the reincarnation of the living Buddha?" "No." Lu Qing shook his head. "Then you're gifted?" Xu Rui's tone became light. Lu Qing thought for a while and nodded. "After I started practicing martial arts, I found that I had a talent for stillness. It only took me a short time to be able to enter a meditative state. My physical strength is also several times better than normal people." In terms of details, he made some slight adjustments. "You're able to enter the concealment of spirit and chi very soon? Then it's easy for you to get started with stillness stance. Once you get started with stillness stance, you'll get twice the result with half the effort." Xu Rui specialized in martial arts interviews and understood the meaning of stillness stance very well. "Yeah," he added sincerely, "and coincidentally, the school invited Coach Sher to be our instructor. He's a man with a lot of knowledge. He taught us a lot of still stance and visualization of fighting styles. With the accumulation of this knowledge, I was able to improve day by day. Before the district competition, I probably had the strength of amateur ninth pin, but the gap between me and the others was still quite big. I couldn't even be a substitute." Xu Rui smiled and said, "No wonder you weren't on the list last time. What happened after that? How did you become the main force of the martial arts club?" "I practiced until the winter vacation. Because the sparring of the martial arts club stopped after the district competition, I couldn't figure out my level. I wanted to find a chance to increase my actual combat experience. Then I heard from Coach Sher that there was a Warrior Sage Challenge tournament called Phoenix Cup. So I asked him for an invitation and went to Yanling to participate." Lu Qing didn't hide the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament from her. Xu Rui put her right hand in front of her lower abdomen and asked with great interest, "Did you set a goal for yourself when you joined?" "Yes. I didn't want to be eliminated in the first round. That would be so embarrassing," Lu Qing said self-deprecatingly. Xu Rui chuckled and said, "Then what happened? Which stage did you reach in the end?" "I reached the top 8. I felt that I gained a lot and improved a lot in every match. After this tournament, I became a real fighter both physically and mentally," Lu Qing said with emotion. "Top 8? Then did you meet any professional fighters?" Xu Rui was quite surprised. "It didn't sound like an amateur tournament." Lu Qing said frankly, "I met 3 professional ninth pin fighters. I lost one and won the other 2. "Wow, that's amazing. Then you're not just a quasi-professional fighter." Xu Rui was shocked and amazed. "You can't say that. I won the 2 matches for different reasons. For example, one of them was a professional ninth pin fighter who hadn't fought for a long time." Lu Qing explained briefly. This kind of question and answer session with no outline soon came to an end. It only took about 10 minutes, but Lu Cheng's story was basically outlined. "Well, Lu Cheng, you can go back to practice. Sorry for holding you up," Xu Rui said with a smile. "It's my pleasure," Lu Qing said politely. Xu Rui chuckled and said, "Anyway, I still have to thank you. I'm going to interview your coach Sher." Lu Cheng was relieved and went back to the team. When he passed by Yenjika, he heard her whisper, "That reporter Xu is so beautiful." Just in terms of facial features, she was indeed very beautiful. Lu Cheng was about to answer, but suddenly he thought of something and said instinctively, "Is she beautiful? I think she's quite ordinary." Yenjika glanced at him and said, Your answer is too fake. No, I really think so. Maybe it's because she doesn't meet my aesthetic standards. Lu Qing answered seriously. Yenjika laughed and said, "Oh, your aesthetic standards are quite special. Then tell me what the one who meets your aesthetic standards looks like." Lu Qing glanced at her and said with a smile, "Guess." Yenjika was stunned and suddenly spat. She turned her head and said, "Who wants to guess?" Under the gaze of so many people, Lu Qing couldn't say anything. He went back to the team and continued his practice. Songqing TV station. Xu Rui found her director and briefly told him Lu Cheng's story. Director Gua said, "Don't broadcast the interview. Let's not broadcast this interview for the time being. Let's wait until Songqing University Martial Arts Club can really go far in the preliminaries before we release it. Otherwise, it will be like last time, when we specially made an episode and they were eliminated in the blink of an eye. How terrible would that be? This time, just mention that Songqing University Martial Arts Club will participate in the preliminaries in the news." "Okay, I'll fill in the material first." Xu Rui had expected this result. When she returned to the second editing room, she answered her boyfriend's call and chatted with him for a while. Then, she told her colleagues about the gossip and all kinds of weird things she had encountered during the interview. After that, she turned on her computer and logged in to search for relevant materials for the interview. The first thing that came to her mind was the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. After all, Lu Cheng's description of the tournament was very brief. After entering these words in the search bar, she added Lu Cheng's name after thinking for a while. With a click sound, the search results were refreshed. She browsed the whole thing and didn't hurry to open them one by one. These are the official website of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. And these are... Hey, Lu Qing has a private forum? Xu Rui exclaimed in a low voice and opened the forum to confirm the authenticity. She saw the two IDs Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin rolling around and acting cute, saying that they would die if they didn't see Lu Cheng's news. Xu Rui couldn't help but smile. She seemed to recall the days when she was a fangirl. She found the interview material and edited a rough trailer. Then she logged into the ID Lush Gives Birth to Light that she hadn't used for a long time and posted Songqing TV station's preview of Lu Cheng's interview. In the main building, she uploaded the edited video and typed a line of words. "Don't ask me who I am. I'm just a good person." Chapter 110. As an art student, Yan Xiaoling didn't need to attend the tutoring for the senior year of high school. When her classmates started to leave early and come back late, she was still lying in bed, happily playing with her mobile phone. Beside her ears was music from her laptop. It was an old song, White Moonlight. After playing for a while, she returned to the BBS with a strong sense of responsibility. She planned to patrol the BBS to avoid being polluted by people with small advertisements. Songqing TV station's exclusive interview with Lu Cheng, the preview. As soon as she switched to the BBS, she was stunned. Her eyes were wide open like a surprised cat. Her hands moved faster than her brain. Before she recovered her ability to think, she had already clicked in and played the video. Do you know what kind of person Lu Cheng is? What is his strength? Is he of professional ninth pin? I can't answer these questions. As she watched, Yan Xiaoling's expression unconsciously changed into a smile. She let out a joyful voice alone. It's really Lu Cheng. It's really Lu Cheng. Haha, so funny. Asking who is Lu Cheng in front of Lu Cheng. He didn't know martial arts half a year ago. Unconsciously, the short preview finished playing. Yan Xiaoling was rolling with joy and reverberating with surprise. She couldn't control herself and quickly replied to the post of Lush Natural Light. Good people live a peaceful life. It's really our Lu Cheng. Ah. Hey, he's really a very warm boy. After replying to 3 messages in a row, she found Brahmin on QQ and hurriedly said, "Quick, go to the BBS post, the first one. The first one outside of the top." After sending the message, she suddenly felt that it wasn't enough to express her excitement and joy. She simply changed the mode to voice and aimed it at her mouth. Ha 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 ha. I'm so happy. I finally saw the news of Lu Cheng. He's really very warm, Very warm, very warm. Important things must be said 3 times. Before he entered the challenge tournament, he was actually a super rookie with no actual combat experience. He only learned martial arts for half a year. So awesome. I'm so happy. I'm covering my face and rolling around. Don't ask me how I did it. After a while, Brahmin wiped her cold sweat and said, I didn't expect you to be so love-struck. I always thought you were the soft and cute type. Speaking up to this point, she also sent a voice message. Using the crisp voice of a young girl, she said, Little Nightfall, you're lying. Your voice is clearly that of a primary school student. Yet you lied to me and said that you're a third-year high school big sister. Yan Xiaoling was in a good mood, so she didn't care about it. She coughed and said in a broadcasting voice, You have to allow others to be born with a childlike voice. Just wait for me to enter Songqing University in the second half of the year. Humph, I'll wait. I'll go read the post first. Brahmin couldn't wait to open the forum and click on the post. As the video played, her expression gradually changed. She excitedly tugged at the 2 braids on her shoulders and quickly replied to lush self-generating light : It's so short. It's not satisfying. So when my idol participated in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, he had just started learning martial arts for half a year and had no actual combat experience, but he was already in the top 8. No wonder he's so mysterious. I suddenly admire him more. There was no conflict between the mysterious, hidden master and the genius who had just started learning martial arts for half a year and entered the top 8 of the challenge tournament. Brahmin was as excited as Yan Xiaoling. She was so excited that she just wanted to vent her emotions. I'll send it to Uncle Pig Riding, Uncle Ring, and the others so that they can get to know my idol. Look at them bragging that they lost because they didn't have actual combat experience for many years, but he had just started practicing martial arts for less than half a year. Thinking of this, Brahmin hesitated for a moment. Should she send it to the chat group or directly to the Longhu Club forum? If she chose the former, she would take into account the reputation of Road to the Arena and Invincible Punch, but the number of people who could see it would be quite limited. It wouldn't be enough to satisfy her excitement. After thinking for a second, Brahmin made a serious decision. She would send it to the Longhu Club forum. Adults should consider the consequences, while children only care about happiness. Soon, a post appeared on the Longhu Club forum. The title was, There's new news about my idol. In the post, Brahmin tagged a bunch of people and said proudly, Look, it's an exclusive interview with my idol. It said that he has only been practicing martial arts for half a year. Not long after, Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a shocked emoji. He has only been practicing martial arts for half a year. No wonder it's not in my database and I couldn't ask anyone. He has only been practicing martial arts for half a year. Road to the Arena followed up with a reply. I'll stop talking. I'm going to buy a piece of tofu and knock myself to death at home. Invincible Punch sent an emoji of fainting in the toilet and said, Master Road, I'm not going to buy tofu. I'll just knock myself to death on the toilet. Pig Riding Knight laughed with Yao Ming and said, Come on, line up and knock yourself to death. The number of replies increased rapidly. Brahmin was so happy that she even copied and pasted it to Yan Xiaoling, so that she could share the joy. Not long after, Beautiful World also replied, Looking at the interview, it seems that he has some talent. Once this kind of person starts practicing martial arts, he will definitely improve quickly at the beginning. It's a burst of potential. But when this stage is over, there will be a bottleneck. It's still unknown whether he can get out of it. Outspoken Mind added. He has been reincarnated as a living Buddha for a few years. Who can compare with him? Okamoto's fan joked, I'm going to practice martial arts. Maybe I have some talent? Whoever I stare at will get pregnant. Whoever I look at will get climax. The little girl Wonton Seller said. I suddenly admire him a little. Just with talent, it's impossible to defeat a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year without extremely tough training. I like this kind of talented and hard-working kid. When Lu Cheng was browsing the forum, he saw this scene. For a moment, he didn't know whether to cry or laugh, or just watch silently. Wasn't this news spreading too quickly? Of course, Xu Rui didn't know what was happening in the Longhu Club forum. After seeing the excited replies from Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin in their own posts, she couldn't help but smile and click follow. Brahmin was trying her best to attract fans for Lu Cheng. She persuaded Wonton Seller to follow her and succeeded. Valentine's Day came quickly. According to Kai Zongming's advice, Lu Cheng became more and more friendly. He would say flirtatious words from time to time, trying to convey his feelings without causing pressure or burden to the girl. After dinner, when he returned to the dormitory for a short rest, he took out his phone and replied to Yenjika's messages as before, trying to start a new topic. But this time, Yenjika didn't reply quickly. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes passed. Lu Cheng suddenly felt a little worried. This kind of situation had never happened before. Usually, when Yenjika didn't reply to his messages, he knew what she was doing and why. But this time there was no sign. She didn't mention anything in advance. She said that she had already eaten dinner. Did something happen to her? But what kind of accident can happen in school? Even if there is a reckless guy, with her current skills, it's more than enough to deal with him. Did she accidentally fall into the lake? She can't swim. Lu Cheng stood by the window, thoughts coming one after another. All kinds of bad guesses were bothering his mind. He couldn't stay there any longer, so he called Kai Zongming. "Talker, let's go." Kai Zongming looked up from the computer with a blank face. "Isn't it still early? Let's go early. It'll help with digestion." Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. "Well, okay." Kai Zongming frowned slightly and closed his laptop. They hurried to the teaching building ahead of time. Along the way, Lu Cheng kept looking around to see if anything was going on. However, he only saw a lot of students in pairs, which made him envious. Yenjika went back with her roommates. If something really happened, it shouldn't be so peaceful. At this moment, he couldn't help but guess in another direction. Today is Valentine's Day. Did someone confess to her? How did she respond? She hasn't replied for so long. Could it be? That possibility, Lu Cheng didn't dare to think about. His expression became gloomy and his heart was blocked, as if he was sulking. He wanted to call her, but he knew it wasn't good. Besides, he didn't know how to say it. Half an hour, 1 hour, time flew, but Yenjika still didn't reply. Lu Cheng sat in the classroom and couldn't listen to the lecture at all. His mind was in a mess, and he took out his phone to check every few minutes. Kai Zongming next to him twitched his mouth, coughed twice, and whispered, "Did you have a conflict?" "Not really." Lu Cheng didn't know how to describe his thoughts. Kai Zongming smiled and said, "Relax. It's normal to have some conflicts. You need to learn communication skills." He talked endlessly about how to get along with girls, but Lu Cheng was distracted. It was good enough that he could hear 2 or 3 sentences out of 10. Beep. 10 minutes to the end of the class, a message from Yenjika finally flashed on his phone. She said, "Phew, finally back to the dormitory." Lu Cheng felt gloomy and a little uncomfortable. He just replied, "Yeah." But he immediately remembered what Kai Zongming said just now. The same content, different expressions, in the eyes of girls, are completely different. If there is a conflict, it's useless to be angry. You have to try to communicate. And if you want to communicate well, you have to set your attitude right. Taking a deep breath, he hurriedly added, "What's wrong? You seem tired." "Yes, I'm tired physically and mentally," Yenjika said. "After dinner, I was stopped at the dormitory door to confess to someone. A bunch of candles and flowers were placed in public. It's so embarrassing. I don't know what this kind of person is thinking. He only thinks about touching himself and doesn't consider the feelings of girls? Who likes to be surrounded by people like an animal? It's so embarrassing." Lu Cheng was happy to hear that. His gloominess dissipated a lot. "So you rejected him?" "Of course, mercilessly, coldly, and cruelly rejected him." Yenjika gave an affirmative answer. "I ran away as soon as I finished my words. I was afraid of being harassed by him. I didn't dare to go back to the dormitory, so I went to the classroom. Because my phone was running out of battery, I asked my roommate to bring me a charger. At this time, another call came in. He said something about my cousin and asked me to go to the psychology department. Well, my phone is completely out of battery. So it's out of battery. Luqing felt his body and mind relaxed. Only some emotions were not completely released. He asked in confusion, psychology department? My cousin is studying psychology department. I thought it would be good for his mild autism, but it turned out to be the opposite. Psychological counseling seems to have no effect on him. The teacher asked me to go there to talk about this. When I came back, I had just charged my phone, and then started the professional foreign language test in the evening. Yenjika said, using an emoji of squatting and exhaling. Luqing suddenly understood. You handed in your test in advance. Yes, I'm exhausted. Yenjika paused and said sharply. Chung, you seem to be in a bad mood just now. Luqing wanted to deny it, but after thinking about it, he confessed part of it. You didn't reply for a long time, so I couldn't help but let my imagination run wild. I thought you might have fallen into the lake or met some bad guys. I became very nervous and uneasy and even wanted to call you. Pfft, you really know how to curse me. Yenjika laughed. Why do you let your imagination run wild? Seeing this question, Luqing's uncontrollable emotions started to surge. He couldn't help but blurt out. Because I like Yenjika. I like Yenjika very much. As soon as he sent this message, he immediately regretted it. Damn it. Didn't they say that I can't confess before the relationship is confirmed? Didn't they say that I have to confess face to face and not over the phone or the internet? The right way to do it should be on a date the day after tomorrow. Damn it, I made a mistake, made a lot of mistakes. Nervousness, uneasiness, worry, expectation and other emotions suddenly emerged. Luqing heard his heart beating faster than ever. Yenjika fell into silence and didn't reply for a long time. This made him more and more afraid, more and more uneasy and more desperate. You don't want to say anything? He plucked up his courage and asked again, waiting for the judgment to come. More than 10 seconds later, Yenjika replied with a shy emoji. Let me be happy for 5 minutes first. Boom! The meaning contained in this sentence hit Luqing's mind and made his heart explode like fireworks, one after another, brilliant, dazzling and beautiful. Yenjika said yes. The most beautiful thing in the world is that the person I like also likes me. Luqing almost jumped up. There was only ecstasy echoing in his mind, and only the fireworks were in full bloom. He couldn't help but look out of the window, feeling that the bright moon was much brighter. Chapter 111. Luqing held back the urge to scream and run around the classroom. He lowered his head and showed his pure joy to Yenjika. I feel like I can't calm down. I'm so happy that I want to jump down from the teaching building and swim in the lake. Yenjika smiled shyly. You'll scare your teacher to death. So angry. If we weren't in class, I would have shouted. Luqing was almost incoherent. His body was full of joy. He couldn't help but ask. When did you start to, like me? Yenjika replied with a dumbfounded expression. When did I say I like you? When did I accept your confession? I only said to be happy for 5 minutes. Luqing instantly calmed down, as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His heart was full of anxiety and uneasiness. At this moment, he saw Yenjika continue saying, Humph, if you want me to accept, you have to go through 81 tests. Not including the life instructors. Luqing breathed a sigh of relief, and was overjoyed again. He felt like he had gone through a roller coaster game. It turned out to be a girl's pride and thin skin. No problem, I'll accept all the tests. He quickly expressed his determination. You have to remember this. After saying this, Yenjika said with a shy expression. Then when did you start to like me? Luqing, who was overwhelmed by joy and excitement, answered honestly. In fact, I had a crush on you in high school. I'll go to the balcony and be happy for 5 more minutes, Yenjika said with a blush expression. Then she seemed to realize something. Wow. You didn't meet me by chance. You just wanted to hit on me. And I was so happy that I met an acquaintance, a classmate with a normal relationship. I didn't have to worry about being pestered. If I had known, I wouldn't have given you my QQ number. Humph. Even though Yenjika couldn't see it, Lu Qing subconsciously scratched his head and replied with a silly smile. Haha. After that, he added, you don't know how nervous I was at that time. I was afraid that you would see through my flirting and didn't give me a good face or contact number. Yen Zheka said with a snickering expression. If I didn't give you my number, what would you do? Are you giving up just like that? Considering my newbie status, it would be hard for me to muster up the courage for a second rejection. Of course, with Little Ming's encouragement and guidance, I can't rule out the possibility of repeated failures. Lu Qing thought in relief and typed quickly. How could that be? I joined the martial arts club because of you. So of course I have to take advantage of this opportunity. So you joined the martial arts club because of me? Yen Zheka seemed a little surprised. That's right. When I passed by the martial arts club's recruitment booth, I happened to see you, so I forced Little Ming to sign up. I think this is not a coincidence but fate. After the successful confession, Lu Qing felt that his face had become thicker and thicker. In the past he had dared to say a few ambiguous and suggestive words, but now he could say such mushy words without blushing or panting. Yen Zheka replied with a smiley face and asked, Then why do you like me? What do you like about me? I don't know why I like you. At first, when I passed by your class to look at the pretty girls, I was just admiring them. Later on, I realized that I would unconsciously look at the beautiful figure diagonally in front of me. I would always quiet down and listen attentively when others mentioned you. I would always guess what rank you got when the grade was announced. That was when I suddenly realized that I like you. Lu Qing didn't embellish his words and spoke from the bottom of his heart. Without waiting for Yen Zheka's reply, he continued to type. At that time, maybe I was just admiring a perfect girl and projected all the beautiful thoughts in my heart on you. I was moved by myself and hinted at myself. But after I really got to know you, I realized that you are a real girl with your own feelings and shortcomings. However, the more I know you, the more I find that I like you. I like you who always pursed your lips and smiled. I like you who unconsciously turned your head to one side when you showed your emotions. I like you who was elegant and delicate. I like you who was lively and cheerful inside. I like you who didn't put on airs and liked to joke. I like you who was obsessed with martial arts. I like you who grew up with me. I like you who analyzed my enemies for me. I like you who sang and cheered for me. I like you who didn't like to be pestered by boys. I like you who liked to laze in bed. I like you who would occasionally throw tantrums. I like you who wanted to improve your martial arts but didn't dare to. I like you so much. I like you so much. After typing this pile of words, Lu Qing looked back and was a little surprised. When did I unlock the love words skill? Is this what it means to say that every word and sentence comes from love? After a while, Yen Zheka replied. It's all because of you. My face is so red and hot, and my eyes are a little wet. My roommates are coming back soon. I'll go wash up and put on my face. I won't let them find out, so they won't gossip. Okay, go quickly. Lu Qing said with uncontrollable joy. When he looked up, he was suddenly stunned because the whole classroom was empty, except for a few students studying by themselves and Kai Zhongming standing in front of him. Class is over? Lu Qing asked blankly. Kai Zhongming spread his hands and smiled. Obviously. Why didn't I know? Lu Qing said subconsciously again. How could you know when you're so obsessed with love that you can't extricate yourself? Kai Zhongming raised his eyebrows. Look at you, you're itching to go out and run a few laps naked. Did you have a breakthrough? I can't believe you were still wearing that face of a dead man just now. But then again, the right amount of friction and reconciliation can really improve feelings. Lu Qing couldn't wait to share his happiness. Yes, I confessed, and she said yes. Cough. Kai Zhongming almost choked on his own saliva. You confessed just like that? You confessed on QQ? She actually said yes. Lu Qing said with a face full of joy. Yeah, I typed out my confession on impulse. Typed? Didn't you calm down while you were typing? Kai Zhongming glanced at a few students studying by themselves and lowered his voice. You know, when a person is emotional and impulsive, they really don't care about anything else. Also, my confession was only a dozen words. When I regained my composure, I would have already sent it out, not a bunch of words. At that time, my feelings were like this. Who am I? Where am I? What the F***ck did I do? Lu Cheng described the state he was in when he confessed. Kai Zhongming was stunned for a moment and sighed. It's quite normal, really. If you don't make a few mistakes and be impulsive, how can it be called first love? How can it be called pure and passionate? Good thing you're in luck and laid the foundation in place. Otherwise, you'd be waiting for 10 moves to reject you. Phew. Lu Cheng exhaled a long breath. I'm also quite scared. If she rejected me, I would have no chance at all. Kai Zhongming smiled and said, It's good that you know how to be scared. According to my guidance, within 3 months, you have more than a 90% chance of successfully holding hands and establishing a relationship. If you impulsively confessed, it's really up to fate. As for being rejected, hey, what's there to be afraid of? Sometimes, a girl rejects you not because she doesn't like you, but because it's not enough for her to make up her mind to change her life. You still need to add fuel to the fire. Be thick-skinned and pretend that you didn't confess. Continue to stick to her and control the degree of entanglement. You'll still have a chance to win her heart. As the saying goes, a strong woman is afraid of a pestering man. Of course, if she becomes very cold after you confess and doesn't change for a while, then quit while you're ahead. Lu Cheng smiled and squinted his eyes. Fortunately, she also likes me. After saying this, he jumped up from his seat and felt that he needed to vent the ecstasy in his heart. So he packed his school bag and pulled Kai Zhongming. Talker, let's run back. Run. As soon as Kai Zhongming spat out a word, he was pulled by Lu Cheng to run like the wind. They ran down the stairs of the teaching building, ran past several buildings, ran across the long bridge, ran across the square, ran across the pedestrian street, and ran all the way into the yard of the 7th male dormitory. Phew, phew, phew. Kai Zhongming gasped and retched. You were the one who wanted to run. Why did you pull me? Why did you pull me? Damn it, it's not like I succeeded in confessing. It's fine to run, but why did you run so fast? Lu Cheng chuckled. Am I not excited? He took out his phone and wanted to see if Yanjuka had finished washing up. But he found that she had already replied to several messages. Well, Cheng, you should be on your way back to the dormitory, right? There are some words that I'm too embarrassed to say to you directly. Now is the time to tell you secretly. Didn't you just ask me when I started to like you a little? On a whim. I wanted to wait until the early hours of the morning to call you and wish you a happy birthday. Then I suddenly realized that I like you a little. I'm happy for you, I'm worried for you, I'm anxious for you, and I'm also angry for you. When you brought me the roasted eggplant and other dishes, I was really happy and moved. I turned my head away, because I didn't want you to see my ugly face when I was about to cry. But in order to treat me to a meal, you specially went to check the time and taste the food. That silly and serious look of yours made me happy for a long time. I kept thinking that if this continued, I would like you more and more. But today you suddenly confessed to me. I was really very happy just now. It was an experience that I've never had in my life. But there was also a lot of hesitation and confusion. I wasn't mentally prepared. I didn't like you more and more. I didn't have the courage to change my current life and accept the sudden addition of another person in my life. That's why I was silent for so long until you asked. When you asked me, I was also asking myself, was I willing to miss you? Was I willing to miss the silly Lu Cheng? I thought about it and felt that if I really missed you, I would be very sad and very regretful. Since I've started to like you, why not give it a try? Cheng, I may need a little more time to accept the change. I may need to wait for a while before I can like you as much as you like me. I may need to slowly conquer my cowardice and gather my courage bit by bit to be a good girlfriend. Are you willing to wait for me? Lu Cheng's eyes were wet. He nodded hard, even if the girl couldn't see it. He took a deep breath and replied, I'm willing. I'm willing to wait for you for a lifetime. He felt that his heart had become very light. Although he wasn't as ecstatic and excited as before, there was a faint sense of peace and joy. It was as if the bright moonlight shone into the softest part of his heart. Different emotions, equally beautiful. P.S. As requested, I'm feeding you dog food in advance. No, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. Chapter 112. At this moment, Lu Qing only felt that everything was so beautiful. The students walking in and out were so cute, the background noise was so pleasant, and even the cold and damp air seemed to have a little sweetness, refreshing and pleasant. It was not even the 15th day yet, but the moon was so bright and full. Yinjuka quickly replied to his mushy promise and said with a cute face, "What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? My account was hacked just now." "Yes, it was hacked." Lu Qing almost laughed out loud. He seemed to have pictured the girl's proud and shy face in his mind, so he replied with a serious face, "Damn it, how dare they hack our Coach Yan's account? I will write down what she said in a small notebook, and recall it 100 times every day to make the most profound condemnation." He didn't know why, but after the confession he felt less restrained in front of girls and more comfortable in flirting. Yinjuka seemed to be speechless for a moment. She sent a long string of ellipses and then said, "Forget it. Delete it. Humph, you just confessed and you want to recall someone else every day? Okay, I'll forget it right away." After replying, Lu Qing added with a smile, "But I won't forget what I promised." Yinjuka said with a blank face, "Have you been in love before? Why do you sound so good? I'm a little flustered." Cute girls nowadays like to use the word flustered instead of flustered. Lu Qing thought and hurriedly explained, "No, I like you since the first awakening of love. I don't know how to speak. I just express the most honest thoughts in my heart. I say what I think without any modification. You even know how to use the first awakening of love." Yinjuka snickered. "Unfortunately, I didn't dare to visit you in high school because I was afraid of being surrounded. I didn't have the chance to see the first awakening of love. At that time, I must be even more stupid than now." Lu Qing heard that and smiled. "Indeed, I was more stupid and less confident at that time. Except for learning and playing games, I was timid in other aspects. I'm not generous enough. Fortunately, you don't remember it, or it would be a black history." He calmly described his past and faced Yinjuka with his truest self. "I was the same at that time. I had low self-esteem. I thought everyone else was fine, but I didn't dare to go deep into martial arts. I could only watch with envy." Yinjuka didn't dislike Lu Qing's frustration in high school. Instead, she resonated with him. Lu Qing didn't want Yinjuka to be immersed in the sadness of the past, so he changed the topic and said emotionally, "I was so happy just now. I wanted to shout, but I was afraid that I would scare others, so I had to drag little Ming all the way back. We ran at a speed close to sprinting. He was so tired that he was panting. He hasn't recovered yet, but I still wanted to shout, 'I'm so happy.' Poor little Ming." Yinjuka couldn't help but laugh. "Don't provoke others. Be careful that some single students will throw things at you. Little Ming is not pitiful at all. In the future, I will give him a big red packet as a matchmaker. Nothing can be better than this." Lu Qing laughed secretly. "To be honest, just now I wanted to run to your dormitory door. Even if it was just to take a look at you, it would be nice. But when I saw your hacked message, I felt that it might scare you and make you more resistant, so I held myself back. We still have a long time, so it's better to take it slow." After sending this message, he felt that his sweet talk skills were activated again. Was this an instinct that all men have, or was it his talent? Yinjuka replied with a blushing and smiling emoji. "That's a good chung." Being praised, Lu Qing beamed with joy and asked curiously, "Have you known that I like you for a long time?" "Yes, a little bit. At that time I was wondering what was wrong with this classmate. Why did he chat with me every day? Although we got along quite well, if he had the guts to confess to me or woo me, I would have cruelly rejected him." Yinjuka replied with an emoji rolling her eyes at the sky. "Luckily I know how to do it step by step," Lu Qing said, wiping cold sweat. "This is all thanks to little Ming's patient guidance. A good teacher and helpful friend does not deceive me. I'm too stupid to be fooled by your harmless act." "Humph," Yinjuka said. crying face. I'll lie to you for a lifetime. Lu Qing was too embarrassed to say such mushy words. Suddenly, he felt a pat on his shoulder. He saw Kai Zhongming coming back to his senses. He pointed at the time on his phone, and then turned to look at the dorm. Damn, it's already 10 o'clock. How did the beautiful time pass so quickly? Lu Qing felt melancholy. Normally, the evening class ended at 9:35. He had wasted a lot of time coming back. After chatting for a long time, it was actually quite normal for it to be around 10 o'clock. But he had to go to bed at 10:30. He really couldn't bear to leave. He thought for a while and told Yinjika how he felt. Unknowingly, it's already 10 o'clock. I have to go to bed. I have to wake up early tomorrow to train. I couldn't bear to leave and wanted to go to bed at 12. But I remembered what little Ming said before. Don't be afraid to woo her just because you're not good enough for her. You have to change yourself for her, improve yourself, and work hard to be good enough for her. I want to be good enough for you, so I can't relax my training requirements. That was not the original words, but the meaning was close enough. Yinjika said. If you didn't say it, I would have urged you to go to bed. Go and wash up. Good night later. Okay. Lu Qing replied happily. And when I'm practicing endurance, I can run far away. I can buy Yinjika a breakfast that's not from the cafeteria on the way. When I figure out what kind of breakfast she likes in Songcheng, I can implement it. Excited, he practiced harder and harder. Seeing this, Geyser was stunned. He always felt that his stupid disciple had taken something like strength pill or stimulant. While punching and kicking, Lu Qing visualized the image of thunderclouds shaking, which moved his throat and chest and pulled his internal organs, making a sound similar to thunder. With the tremor force in the training method, he shook his bones and marrow little by little. Step by step, he tempered the hard-to-reach parts of his body. Unconsciously, the morning practice time was over. He hurriedly ate breakfast and couldn't wait to fly to the martial arts arena, because he could see Yinjika. As soon as he stepped into the door, his eyes were like a radar. He looked over and met Yinjika's eyes. Yinjika suddenly avoided his eyes and lowered her eyes. Her long black eyelashes trembled and her cheeks flushed. But she quickly looked up and glanced at Lu Qing. Then she turned her head to the side in a flirtatious manner. Lu Qing didn't know why he also blushed. He knew that girls were thin-skinned and hadn't fully adjusted, so he didn't recklessly greet her. Instead, he returned to his seat and peeped at her from time to time. And he could always catch Yinjika's eyes, which filled his heart with tacit understanding and sweetness. For the whole morning, the two of them looked at each other like this. Time flew by quickly, and they were about to enter the final part of their training. At this time, Geyser coughed and said, "The preliminary schedule has been drawn up. More than 20 teams from Songcheng have signed up and formed a division with several surrounding cities. There are 4 groups of 8 to 9 teams in each group. They will fight in a single round and draw lots to decide the home and away games. The top 2 teams with the best records will advance and compete with the other teams in the other groups for 2 places in the division. We are in the 3rd group with 8 teams. That is to say, no matter whether we can advance or not, we can fight 7 games. Our first opponent is the local Hongluo Martial Arts School in Songcheng on the afternoon of the 17th. We will be the away game. I will send the video materials to the members who will participate in the preliminaries. You can think about it in these 2 days." Hearing this, Lu Qing was refreshed. He was in high spirits and eager to have a try. Friends of Hongluo Martial Arts School, please feel my happiness and excitement. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.